Doulou Dalu, the power of a book. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 1, The Awakening of Martial Spirit. Thunder rumbled, releasing hammers of unyielding slaughter and bloodshed. Golden light scattered, petals danced around a chrysanthemum swaying in the wind. 7 eerie black mist shrouded everything, casting shadows with a sinister aura. 6 wings stretched behind, radiating the holy aura of an angel. Have passed, and I'm already 5 years old. Upon entering this world, Su Wen initially enjoyed a happy and harmonious family, but a great war shattered everything. 7 You can escape, you can pursue, but why drag my village into this? Why involve my parents who granted me a second chance at life? Su Wen's gaze remained indifferent. Before closing his eyes to quell the anger within, he reopened them, filled with determination. He rose from the bed and dressed himself. Grandpa, I'm heading out for a bit. After informing the kind village chief who had adopted him, Su Wen hastened out the door. Reaching a small river bank, Su Wen paused, scanned the surroundings, found no other children, and began warming up in place. 20 push-ups, 30 squats, 50 high knees, 7 just some swift warm-up exercises. 6 Soon, Su Wen's small body began to heat up. A warm surge coursed through him, awakening every cell as if rousing from slumber. Under the stream's sweep, blood and energy were unleashed. Su Wen contorted into peculiar poses, the warm stream in his body flowing through, guided by these unusual postures. I seek revenge. 7 To attain revenge, strength is indispensable. Lacking a potent martial spirit bloodline and support from any faction, all I can rely on is myself. After awakening a martial spirit and ascending to the rank of Spirit Master, Su Wen could only create optimal conditions for himself as much as possible. I lack the mysterious heaven skill, I can't cultivate internal ki, and I can't compensate for the absence of innate soul power with internal ki. Fortunately, Su Wen, who had crossed over, was not entirely without resources. 9 Drawing upon my heightened perception, even though I lack internal martial arts techniques, I can focus on external training. Su Wen could vaguely sense his still forming martial spirit. Perhaps it's the unique stage of his martial spirit that hasn't fully formed yet. Relying on his innate talent of exceptionally strong perception, he also sensed his feeble innate soul power, similarly locked deep within his body like the martial spirit. Still can't mobilize it. I can't push my young body too hard with excessive exercise, but even with limited external training, it proves effective. With the aid of his heightened perception, Su Wen gradually discovered and guided the flow of heat circulating within his body. By sensing the changes in innate soul power through his repeated, self-made movements, he began to unlock his potential too. These are all the movements he has discovered so far that proved effective in enhancing innate soul power. All credit goes to his unique, strong perception. In truth, it's not just the movements that are beneficial, but the body's nurturing through guiding that stream of heat with movements. The martial spirit ultimately originates from the body, nurtured by it. As the body grows stronger, the martial spirit will naturally be influencing. This is particularly crucial during the period when Su Wen's martial spirit has not yet awakened. Spring passed, and autumn came, and a year slipped by in the blink of an eye. Xiao, wake up. Today is the day you awaken your martial spirit, a gentle voice roused Su Wen to okay. Su Wen responded, swiftly dressing and following village chief Old Jerry outside. 8 Martial Spirit Awakening. It's finally here. This is one of the most exhilarating ceremonies in the Douluo continent. Because, whether your martial spirit is a dragon or an insect, they all reveal themselves at this moment. I definitely have innate soul power, I just don't know what level it reached after all the training I did, and also, my martial spirit, without an awakened martial spirit, Su Wen has always only vaguely sensed its existence but couldn't determine its specific form. Xiao, when you awaken your martial spirit later, listen to the arrangements of the steward carefully. You've been clever since childhood, you'll definitely awaken soul power, Old Jerry said, patting Su Wen's head and smiling. 8 Yes, Grandpa Jerry, I will definitely awaken soul power. I want to become a spirit master. I want to stand at the pinnacle of the continent, 2. I want to possess the most powerful strength in this world. Weakness is a sin in this world that follows the rules of the jungle. Su Wen refuses to be an ant, susceptible to inadvertent harm and death by others at any moment, much like what happened to his parents in this life. He is resolute in repaying their favor for giving him a second at life. Having experienced it once, he absolutely doesn't want to endure it again. That feeling of powerlessness is too overwhelming. Where your life is in the hand of someone else who doesn't even care about it. Accompanying old Jerry to the center of the village, they reached a sizable wooden house. Respected spirit master, sorry for troubling you, old Jerry said to a proud young man, bowing respectfully. Su Yunteo faintly, returning a slight chance, and said, since everyone is here, let's begin. 15 children participating in the martial spirit awakening obediently followed the steward of the spirit hall into the small wooden house. In the faint golden light, one by one, the children completed the awakening of their martial spirits under Su Yunteo's guidance. Blue silver grass? Useless martial spirit, 2 indeed, no soul power, a sickle? Test for soul power, unfortunately, no soul power, a wooden stick? You should also test, 3 half-level soul power. Not bad, at least it can be cultivated. Now it's my turn, Su Wen thought to himself. He stood within a hexagonal pattern formed by 6 black stones, closed his eyes, and tuned into the changes in his body. As the faint golden light streamed into his body, Su Wen sensed the barrier between himself and the martial spirit dissolving. Su Yunteo gazed at Su Wen, with some anticipation in his eyes. The light radiating from Su Wen was noticeably distinct, much richer than the previous half-level soul power of the chubby kid before him. A dusty book materialized above Su Wen's right hand, silently hovering one book martial spirit? A seemingly useless martial spirit, 12. Although Su Yunteo thought the book martial spirit wasn't very practical, he still handed the crystal ball for testing soul power to Su Wen. What? Level 5 soul power? Su Yunteo was astonished that a seemingly ordinary book martial spirit could possess a level 5 innate soul power. My lone wolf only has a level 2 innate soul power, level 5, Su Wen remained indifferent. He knew he had soul power, after all. He could sense it. The martial spirit being a book, though. My father's book martial spirit, huh? This is all the more reason to seek revenge now. In any case, he could accept it all. Kid, since you have level 5 innate soul power, don't waste this talent. Although I don't know what a book martial spirit can do, not all spirit masters are necessarily combat types. 13. Su Yunteo stepped forward, patted Su Wen's shoulder, and said with a smile. Thank you, master. Su Wen also expressed gratitude for Su Yunteo's affirmation. Old Jerry, the quality of the children from your new moon village is impressive this time. 2 of them awakened soul power. 2. Old Jerry widened his eyes, his surprise evident. Yes, one has only half-level soul power, the other has level 5 soul power. Su Yunteo pointed to the chubby kid and Su Wen, saying, this is the proof of awakening from the spirit hall. 3. Chapter 2, Experiments. After a pleasant conversation with Su Yunteo, old Jerry escorted Su Wen back home. Xiaoan, your talent is truly surprising. Haha, you're destined to become a spirit master. Old Jerry's joy for Su Wen was evident. Beaming with satisfaction, old Jerry continued, both you and Xiaopan possess soul power. I'll do my utmost to secure spots for you at the primary Spirit Master Academy. Slots with New Moon Village had children with awakened soul power. Additionally, even Saint Soul Village lacked youngsters with awakened soul power this year. 5. Alright, you stay home alone. I'll go check on Xiaopang. Although the child only has half-level soul power, he still possesses some potential. There is still hope in case he breaks through to become a spirit master, old Jerry expressed wistfully. Even if it's just a spirit master of the 10th level, as long as there's a spirit ring, one can receive subsidies from the spirit hall every month. 4. The contrast between a spirit master and an ordinary person is as vast as the sky and the earth. After old Jerry departed, Su Wen remained at home alone, immersed in the study of his martial spirit. Book martial spirit, yet, what path should he pursue after mastering the book martial spirit? 6. Su Wen fixed his gaze upon his book martial spirit, the question that had haunted him before the awakening resurfacing once more. Once tinged with hopeful speculation that he might awaken an overpowered martial spirit, now he could only confront the issue head-on. I need strength. 4. Various thoughts raced through Su Wen's mind as he started racking his brain on ways to develop his book martial spirit. 1. And the answer soon came to surface. Heavenly Book. Bestowing a name upon his martial spirit, Su Wen hoped for its gradual evolution into a real heavenly book 3. As the dusty tome unfurled its blank pages, Su Wen activated his soul power, commencing the manipulation of his martial spirit. Split. A page detached from the rest of the book. It works. Su Wen's innate talent endowed him with a control surpassing that of most spirit masters. Under Su Wen's infusion of soul power, the page underwent alterations in size, length, width, and even thickness. However, it still retained its essence as a page. Yet, as Su Wen began to fold the page, Xiaoan, old Jerry's voice pierced through the air. Su Wen halted, opening the door to find old Jerry and Xiaopang standing outside. Xiaopang, whose full name is Sun Xiaopang, embodied his name, fair-skinned and plump, with a simple and honest smile. Xiaopang means little fatty two brother Xiaoan. Xiaopang greeted. Hi, Su Wen replied, acknowledging the greeting before turning his attention to old Jerry. Both of you possess innate soul power, and it would be a waste to squander your talents, old Jerry remarked, raising his right hand and unleashing a wave of soul power. Su Wen was taken aback, his eyes widening in astonishment. Was old Jerry also a spirit master? Haha, this old man too possessed innate soul power, but like Xiaopang, it's only half-level soul power, old Jerry disclosed, condensing soul power into a sweet potato in his palm. However, I've only cultivated up to level 9, and I've never managed to break through to level 10, so I can't claim the title of a true spirit master. Handing the sweet potato to Su Wen, he chuckled, haha, you, little guy, were also nourished by sweet potatoes under my care. Realization struck Su Wen like lightning. No wonder I never felt drained before, even after that intense training, constantly nourishing himself and subtly enhancing the quality of his martial spirit and even his innate soul power. How could there be no expenditure? It dawned on Su Wen that old Jerry's sweet potato had been a source of sustenance for him all along. Xiaopang, possessing soul power is advantageous, but with only half-level soul power, without working hard, you might find yourself in a situation like mine, forever stuck at level 9, old Jerry marked with gravity. It was the biggest regret of his life. I possess a martial spirit of the food system, naturally making cultivation difficult time frame. I will personally instruct you in meditation techniques. Every moment must be maximized. First and foremost, you must attempt to perceive your soul power. Observing Su Wen immediately entering meditation, old Jerry lapsed into silence. He discerned the active soul power coursing within Su Wen's body. Successful in your first attempt at the meditation technique, Su Wen turned his gaze towards Xiaopang, whose restless legs betrayed a struggle to settle down. Xiaopang, find a comfortable position for yourself. The pages of the book can indeed be folded now, but the potency remains insufficient, Su Wen remarked, examining the paper sword he held, infused with soul power, endeavoring to alter the strength of the pages themselves. 17 My book martial spirit remains too fragile. He conceded that even though he could split the pages of the heavenly book and fashion them into paper swords, their offensive capability remained a concern. 7 I can only rely on spirit rings to compensate for its shortcomings. Xiaoan, are you still considering using the book martial spirit for combat? Old Jerry observed Su Wen manipulating the pages in his hand, sharing a sense of helplessness. In my view, your martial spirit being a book is ideal for scholarly pursuits. You're astute and grasp concepts swiftly. In the future, you could excel in theory, too. Alright, Grandpa, I'll take that into consideration. A scholar knowledge is power. Therefore, a scholar without power is incomplete, much like an auxiliary unable to fight is an inadequate warrior. 5 However, to pursue knowledge, one must first find resources to study. Prior to enrolling in school, Su Wen focused on developing his martial spirit to establish a groundwork for the future. Following the awakening of his martial spirit, Su Wen experienced a notable enhancement in his physical fitness, prompting a gradual intensification of his training regimen. Aware that old Jerry's martial spirit took the form of a sweet potato and that he possessed level 9 soul power, Su Wen would consume a few sweet potatoes after each workout session before continuing his training. Though lacking the effects of spirit skills, sweet potatoes served as a potent energy source, facilitating improved digestion and absorption of nutrients. For Su Wen, the outcomes were already quite satisfactory. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had elapsed. Xiaopang, make sure you behave yourselves properly once you're at the Spirit Master Academy, old Jerry reiterated several times on their journey. We're nearing the Nuoding City Primary Spirit Master Academy, old Jerry announced as they approached the gate. Hello, I'm here to enroll these two youngsters in the academy. Su Wen noticed old Jerry discreetly slipping 3 copper spirit coins into the guard's palm before handing over their certificates too. Alright, the certificates are in order. You may proceed, but parents are not permitted beyond this point. Xiaoan, Xiaopeng, remember to apply yourselves diligently in the academy, old Jerry reminded them once more, his unease palpable. Grandpa, don't worry, I'll look after Xiaopeng and ensure he practices diligently. Old Jerry placed a lot of trust in Su Wen, nodding before reluctantly departing. Guard, where can I find the registration office? Accepting the copper spirit coins, the guard, noting Su Wen's certificate clearly stated level 5 innate soul power on it, decided to answer him. Do you see that building over there? The administration office is located on the 2nd floor. Take your spirit hall certificate and the working student information to the headmaster's office. Thank you. Su Wen pondered whether he could accomplish his envisioned goals at this primary Spirit Master Academy 1. He harbored anticipation in his heart for the future and resolved not to rush things and would slowly make his decisions as he gains more experience. Chapter 3, First Year in the Academy. Locating the Academic Affairs Office proved effortless. Su Wen swiftly arrived there accompanied by Xiaopeng. Greetings, esteemed educators. I am here to initiate the admission processes for working students. How may I proceed? 4. Upon fulfilling certain formalities, Su Wen and Xiaopeng attained the status of official working students. I see you both came empty-handed. Would you require bedding and other essentials? Inquired the director. Su Wen and Xiaopeng accepted without hesitation. Each handed a copper spirit coin and received the necessary bedding. Your assigned dormitory is room 7, the director stated calmly. Room 7 with a bedding in tow? Su Wen followed to the director's guidance and located room 7. Upon opening the dormitory door, a figure lunged towards him. Su Wen deftly evaded the attack. Hands, he ceased his assault. Drop the bedding and face me. The victor will be the leader of room 7, he declared. Why must we fight? Xiaopeng inquired, perplexed. Working students often face bullying here, which is why we must unite. The one with the mightiest fists assumes leadership, shielding us from such torment, Wang Sheng explained. Su Wen shook his head and said, I have no inclination to engage in such games. If leadership is what you want, by all means, take it and don't waste my time. 5. Locating an unoccupied bed, he swiftly made it, assumed a cross-legged position, and commenced meditation. Wang Sheng and numerous other working students exchanged glances. Leader Wang Shen, he's already entered meditation. 3. How can we challenge him when he's already deep in meditation? Let's just leave him be. Clearly, leadership isn't his concern. What a sly move. Claiming disinterest, yet basking in the privileges of a working student with Wang Sheng's support, some mocked, but Su Wen completely ignored these side-crackers. Upon his arrival at the academy, following dinner, Su Wen sought out the Grandmaster's office. After inquiring with several teachers, he located it and knocked on the door. 5. Enter. A middle-aged voice called out, and Su Wen pushed the door open. Upon seeing it was a youth, the Grandmaster's brows furrowed slightly, his tone tinged with impatience. What brings you to me, Grandmaster? Greetings. I am this year's working student, and my martial spirit. Innate spirit power level 5? Heaven book martial spirit. The Grandmaster's intrigue was piqued. Manifest your martial spirit, for Su Wen did as told. Nothing but a common book martial spirit. His interest plummeted immediately, annoyance flickering in his gaze. A mundane book martial spirit, lacking any notable characteristics, yet boasting level 5 innate spirit power. I do not accept disciples, Grandmaster. My martial spirit is a book, and I aspire to become a scholar like you. The Grandmaster cut Su Wen off, declaring, cease speaking. You comprehend nothing of the essence of scholarship. 10. Su Wen lapsed into silence. He didn't continue to seek warmth where there was only coldness and left the Grandmaster's office. A sigh escaped him. A scholar, something I can't afford to pursue, right? Su Wen grasped the Grandmaster's implicit message. Without lineage, one's path to scholarly greatness remained obstructed. What purpose did the mere transmission of knowledge serve? Particularly since the Grandmaster was the founder of numerous theories and sought to elevate his own fame. Primarily to affirm himself, leveraging this title to mask his lack in martial spirit cultivation for destined to remain obscure on the continent, the Grandmaster naturally had no inclination to take notice of him who was even much worse than he was. 3. As Su Wen departed from the Grandmaster's office and pivoted away, his gaze grew indifferent. If he wouldn't acknowledge me as student, then I won't bother with him either. 3. Su Wen's reason for coming to try was naturally not for the master's theories or his intelligence and training methods. 1. What mattered most to Su Wen in the hands of the master were those resources. Additionally, there were considerations of identity and alternative connections. Since the Grandmaster's approach wasn't viable, Su Wen contemplated routes. Should I consider joining Spirit Hall? Becoming a member of Spirit Hall would undoubtedly grant access to resources, and with diligence, pathways to attain deeper insights might emerge. Yet, Spirit Hall doesn't align with my aspirations. Lacking innate talent and fearing the constraints imposed by influential figures, Su Wen found the prospect of joining the Spirit Hall unsettling. One of the most exasperating situations in life is when your enemy holds authority over you. 6. It seems in the end, it will all boil down to my own efforts. Typical spirit masters engage in meditation techniques, often wielding soul power without systematic consistency. Through years of personal experience, they may eventually craft their own approach, although one driven by habit. Soul power manipulation also entails methodical techniques. Over the course of at least 3 months of meditation, Su Wen has delved into numerous methods, poised to consolidate these diverse approaches into a structured regimen for refining his soul power techniques. Regrettably, the human body boasts an abundance of meridians, requiring Su Wen to invest significant time in investigating a comprehensive operational pathway. Thus, he directed his attention towards the Grandmaster's approach. Regrettably, the Grandmaster remained indifferent to his efforts. I possess a unique perception talent. I can discern the meridian distribution and the state of the martial spirit within the body. My self-control far exceeds that of other spirit masters. 5. In terms of efficacy and safety in technique exploration, my methods surpass those of ordinary practitioners. Su Wen refused to accept that he cannot develop techniques on his own. Regarding other resources, in truth, I already possess a thorough understanding of the spirit master realm. It's merely a matter of organization. Viewing it from a different angle, Su Wen acknowledged that aside from details about spirit beasts and prevalent martial spirits across the continent, he lacks no crucial knowledge. Even for those areas where he's deficient, his innate abilities can be used to decipher them entirely. The curriculum at the academy proved too elementary for Su Wen, with no chance of impeding his cultivation progress. In addition to his daily regimen, Su Wen dedicated time to harnessing his innate abilities and leveraging his personal knowledge to contemplate the trajectory of his martial spirit. Every accumulation of 10 levels presents an opportunity for martial spirit evolution. Although my martial spirit may seem ordinary, by seizing each opportunity presented by every 10 levels, I can optimize its evolutionary potential and ultimately transform it into a true heavenly book. 5. While top-tier martial spirits face formidable challenges in further evolution, the progression of average martial spirits is comparatively more feasible. As long as I acquire sufficiently potent spirit rings and employ an efficient absorption process, maximizing the potency of spirit rings during transformation, the quality of my martial spirit can undergo significant enhancements within the initial 3 spirit rings. 3. Acquiring high-quality spirit rings poses a challenge, and Su Wen has meticulously crafted numerous contingency plans for this endeavor. Alongside securing spirit rings, he currently delved into the intricacies of the absorption process. Unclear, the same may not hold true for me. 2. It's evident without much deliberation that the absorption of spirit rings constitutes a pivotal phase in harnessing their potent essence and facilitating the transformation of martial spirits. Even minimal human intervention, such as maximizing the absorption and refinement of spirit ring power, can substantially augment the transformative effects. And that's what he will try to achieve. Progress unfolds in a methodical fashion. Su Wen's cultivation pace proved commendable. He refined his external training methods, refined his meditation techniques, delved into soul power manipulation to hone his internal capabilities, and explored external skills. 5. The synthesis of these efforts yielded significant progress. Within his first year at the academy, he ascended 4 levels. A mere 5 months later, he achieved a breakthrough from the 9th to the 10th level. Simultaneously, Su Wen embarked on a new research endeavor, the essence of martial spirits. A genuine scholar not only comprehends but also discerns how to apply the 10 fundamental attributes of martial spirit. Grandmaster, forgive me, but I'll grasp them better than you. 6. Chapter 4, Confirming a Theory. Know the truth, but also know the reasons behind it. Su Wen at first paid little attention to the whereabouts of his soul power when cultivating at the 10th level. After all, things that no one had ever been able to figure out were generally subconsciously ignored. It wasn't until Su Wen truly reached the 10th level, coupled with his exceptionally strong perception, that he remembered the strangeness of this situation. The conclusion given by the Grandmaster is obviously supported by a large amount of data. That means, soul power cultivated after the 10th level is indeed being stored somewhere, but he thinks it doesn't serve any purpose. However, this soul power that is being stored might not be without use. Su Wen focused his senses on himself, entering into a meditative state, repeatedly feeling the soul power he had cultivated. He felt as if he was a bucket full of water that was overflowing, but that excess water was disappearing somewhere specific. Su Wen continuously sensed himself, introspecting every subtle change within his meridians, until he sensed a trace of abnormality. This feeling is similar to what I felt before awakening my martial spirit. Before awakening his martial spirit, Su Wen could vaguely sense his own martial spirit, but he couldn't sense it clearly. It was merely a kind of intuition. With this intuition, he could sense the strength of the innate soul power within the gestating martial spirit. Then, by comparing whether the innate soul power had increased, he gradually created his external training movements, ultimately developing a method to increase his innate soul power. Now, feeling this special situation again, Su Wen classified it as a special space within his body where the martial spirit and the excess soul power exist. 3. The martial spirit is the intermediate product of the fusion of the soul and the physical body. Spiritual and soul powers of a soul master emerge afterward. The martial soul acts as a bridge between the two, facilitating the manifestation of these powers. This is Su Wen's summary of his understanding of martial spirits. Martial spirit exists on a special level. It is both as illustration as the soul, without substance, and as substantial as the flesh, manifesting externally. If soul power cultivated after each complete 10 levels continues to be stored in another special space, then what is the significance of this space? Perhaps it's not another special space, but rather the space where the martial spirits resides when they aren't manifested after all. After obtaining the spirit ring, these stored soul powers will manifest along with the spirit ring, becoming the spirit master's true soul power, enhancing the level of soul power. That's why some people when they break through can jump multiple levels. 3. The reason why it cannot be manifested now is because the bucket is full and cannot be poured in anymore, so it stays in that special space. Su Wen continued to speculate. However, while making assumptions, he also conducted verifications based on his own knowledge, examining whether his theory had any flaws. No, it's not that it cannot be poured in. Sensing that the meridians within his body were far from filled with soul power, Su Wen changed his wording. It should be that it cannot be outputted anymore. The martial spirit reaches a limit where it no longer provides the ability to generate more soul power. Therefore, this stored portion is not genuine soul power. It should lack certain qualities imparted by the martial spirit, thus remaining in the space where the martial spirit resides. It's better to consider it a different type of power. Let's call it origin soul power. According to his understanding, Su Wen decided to define this portion of soul power as origin soul power. After obtaining the spirit ring, the martial spirit grows in capability and can continue bestowing certain qualities upon the origin soul power, thus truly transforming it into soul power. Although this theory seemed logical, Su Wen felt it still insufficient, for this is merely a conclusion without problems. But so far, it hasn't proven useful to Su Wen. He's grasped the key. Yes, after the spirit ring is absorbed, there's also a feedback of soul power. If origin soul power and the soul power brought by the spirit ring are consistent, can origin soul power be integrated into the evolution of the martial spirit? During the absorption of the spirit ring, Su Wen took a deep breath, feeling a slight excitement in his heart. He had finally found an opportunity for his martial spirit to truly evolve. 9. There's one more thing. Su Wen knew that this kind of exploration couldn't be accomplished overnight, nor could it be solely advanced theoretically. It required practical application. Firstly, I need to be able to sense the martial spirit space and have some perception and control over the origin soul power. Su Wen possessed extraordinary perceptual talents, which was his greatest confidence. By using the birth of origin soul power, I can sense its direction. If I can expend origin soul power and sense it, combining these two processes might allow me to quickly sense the martial spirit space and control the origin soul power. As for consuming origin soul power, controlling the characteristics of the martial soul power will be consumed. I can exhaust it this way. Su Wen infused soul power into his martial spirit, and the dull heavenly book unfolded. 3 pages separated, swirling around him, swiftly, and started transforming. The intensity and form of the pages changed rapidly, folding into the shape of paper swords. 1. The best way to consume soul power is to strengthen the martial spirit with it. While the martial spirit has its own strength, consuming soul power can empower it, temporarily enhancing the strength and resilience of the martial spirit's pages. However, the consumption is not as cost-effective as spirit skills, which is why this method is rarely used for combat. As Su Wen's soul power got depleted, he began to restore it. I shouldn't absorb the energies from the outside world, I must seek it internally from the martial spirit space. 3. If Su Wen doesn't restore his soul power through meditation, his soul power will absorb the vitality of heaven and earth on its own and return to his original upper limit, albeit at a slower rate than if he was actively restoring it. This is the self-recovery characteristic of soul power. Using this passive recovery, perhaps, part of the original soul power can be sucked out from the martial spirit space no matter how small. Su Wen was fully focused, sensing the source of his soul power recovery within his body. He noticed that not all of it was converted from the energy of the heavens and earth. A small portion of it was indeed as expected. He sensed it. Absorb. 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 Su Wen continuously reinforced this process, constantly using a strong perception to increase the absorption rate of the origin soul power. When his soul power was fully restored, he continued to cultivate, striving to sense the birth and recovery of the origin soul power in the martial spirit space, and then he would repeat the previous step of consuming his soul power to absorb the origin soul power from there, sensing its consumption. After many experiments gradually began to figure out one of the biggest achievements is that my soul power recovery speed can be increased with this method using origin soul power to restore soul power. As long as it can be sucked out from the martial spirit space, it's almost instantly converted to usable soul power. It's much faster than absorbing the energy of the heavens and earth. After all, it's an energy that belongs to the spirit master in the first place through his own diligent cultivation. So, continuing to cultivate after every 10 levels is actually equivalent to increasing my soul power limit through creating a hidden reserve for energy. How useful. Su Wen. While Su Wen was in the midst of training, a voice came. Opening his eyes and looking at Lin Dian in front of him, he frowned. What's wrong? Lin Dian was also a working student, a lackey of Wang Shen. You are indeed training in the dormitory. Stop practicing for now, there's a fight going on. A fight? Again with his childish act. Su Wen didn't need to think too much to know it was a conflict between working students and other students. It seems Boss Xiao got into conflict with Xia Pang, and Xia Pang got beaten. Xia Pang got beaten. Su Wen frowned. Chapter 5, Dealing with Bullies. Su Wen followed Lin Dian to a secluded spot beside the sports field within the academy. Ha, bastard, let go of Xia Pang, Wang Shen, I've been eyeing you working students for a while, and now you've come looking for trouble yourselves. It was quite lively here. From a distance, Su Wen could hear the voices of Boss Xiao, a group of his lackeys, and the working students. Pushing through to the center, he saw Xia Pang. At that moment, Xia Pang was lying on the ground, bruised and swollen, gritting his teeth with tears in his eyes. A tall senior student stood over Xia Pang, wielding a long stick and pressing it down on him. Xia Pang, how dare you talk back to me, Liu Long? HMPH, today, I'll teach you a lesson. With that, Liu Long raised his foot, ready to stomp down fiercely. Stop, who? Liu Long looked up and saw Su Wen's figure, then laughed. It seems my Liu Long's name is still too small. Even second-year students dare to provoke me now, Brother Wen. Seeing Su Wen, Xia Pang called out with a hint of tears. I didn't provoke anyone. Xia Pang, who was not yet 8 years old, felt very wronged. He was just practicing his stick techniques as usual, but this Liu Long came to his door and beat him up for no reason. As more people gathered, Liu Long's attacks became heavier. Sun Xia Pang felt very aggrieved. Liu Long even wanted to learn his stick techniques. Of course, Xia Pang didn't have any special technique for stick fighting inherited from his family. His techniques are what he learned under Su Wen's guidance. Kid, are you also a working student? Liu Long looked at the badge on Su Wen's chest, squinting. Second-year working students are quite arrogant these days. It's obvious that Xia Pang's backbone is Su Wen, not those people like Wang Shen. Liu Long simply kicked Xia Pang towards Su Wen. Xia Pang, Su Wen helped Xia Pang up and asked about the situation. Su Wen, it's clear that Liu Long won't let today's matter rest. We'll handle the pressure from Boss Xiao for you, but dealing with Liu Long is up to you. Wang Sheng stood in front of Su Wen and Xia Pang, speaking in a deep voice. Su Wen learned the ins and outs of the situation from Xiaopeng and, stepping past Wang Xing, approached Liu Long. So you're called Liu Long, what's it to you? You also want to fight? Su Wen's lips curled up, his face seeming to smile but emitting a creeping danger. A fight, bring it on. Liu Long tightened his grip on his long stick, assuming a stance and facing off against Su Wen. It's about to start, what's up with this second year? Isn't he afraid of death? Just a second year and daring to provoke Liu Long. Liu Long is already in 6th grade. A book? The surrounding students were dumbfounded. I can't believe it, his martial spirit is a book. What's he going to do with a book? Hit Liu Long with it? Is he going to read to Liu Long, hypnotize him or maybe put him to sleep with a bedtime story? Each student around burst into thunderous laughter. They felt Su Wen was going to make a fool of himself. However, Liu Long didn't see it that way. Because instinctively, he felt the increasing pressure focused on him. But instincts also nudged him to mock Su Wen's martial spirit. Yet, before he could speak, Su Wen acted. The ordinary heavenly book flipped open and pages separated from it, rolling and folding into each other, forming a paper stick. 6 one wooden stick. One paper stick. Are you two here to entertain us? A lackey behind Boss Zio mocked. Su Wen didn't mind their mockery. He had already used soul power to enhance the strength of the pages. His soul power was at level 10, and he consumed more than half of it to make sure the hardness wouldn't disappoint. Rushing forward quickly, he swept out with his paper stick. Feeling a gust of wind coming, Liu Long's face changed and dodged backward. Thanks to guiding Xiaopeng, Su Wen's own stick techniques were also pretty good himself and was hit by a stick sweep. Liu Long's eyes were slightly red with pain. Is this thing really paper? Could it be secretly stuffed with iron? Taking advantage of the situation, Su Wen continued striking with the stick, hitting Liu Long repeatedly. Bang! 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 Finally, he kicked Liu Long out. At this moment, Liu Long felt pain all over his body. And the surrounding students were all extremely surprised. Although they didn't know how much pain the paper stick caused Liu Long, Su Wen winning explained everything. A second year with an ordinary book martial spirit defeated a 6th grade Liu Long. 3 Goodness, this world seems abnormal. Wang Sheng and the other working students looked at Su Wen with new respect. He can beat Liu Long. It seems like Su Wen is even more formidable than Boss Sheng. Shut up, Su Wen is at most as powerful as the boss. Kid, do you dare to bully my people? Boss Zio ordered someone to help Liu Long up, stepped forward, and looked at Su Wen arrogantly. You also have a fight with me. If you lose, don't bother me in the future. I hate trouble, Su Wen responded calmly. Since they had already started, Su Wen naturally wanted to directly solve the problem at its source. If he doesn't fight Boss Zio now and keeps having a conflict erupt every few days with these nobodies, that would be a waste of his precious time. So he might as well make Boss Zio submit too. Kid, you've just consumed a lot of your soul power, haven't you? And yet you still dare to fight me. Zio Chenyu felt that Su Wen was looking down on him. At this moment, Su Wen activated his soul power and, using the techniques he had previously discovered, extracted the origin soul power, quickly replenishing his soul power. 3 The long stick in his hand transformed into pages swirling around his body. Su Wen, Heavenly Book Martial Spirit, Level 10 Battle Spirit Scholar, Level 10. Su Wen is at Level 10, doesn't that mean, as long as he absorbs a spirit ring, he'll become a spirit master? Goodness, a second year becoming a spirit master? Zio Chenyu was also surprised. However, he wasn't intimidated. So, your soul power has reached level 10, no wonder you can overpower Liu Long. But kid, today I'll teach you a lesson. Zio Chenyu, Wolf Martial Spirit, Level 11 Single Ring Battle Spirit Master, 3 With a roar, a layer of blue light emitted from Zio Chenyu's body. His muscles began to swell, his eyes turned pale green, and as today, I'll let you know the difference between a spirit master with a spirit ring and a spirit master without one. A white halo rose beneath Zio Chenyu's feet, emitting a dense white light. He instantly lunged forward. However, Su Wen remained calm. He and Zio Chenyu weren't standing very close to each other. As Zio Chenyu lunged forward, Su Wen stepped back. 3 of the pages of the book swirling around his body quickly folded and formed flying paper swords. The small swords flew towards Zio Chenyu under Su Wen's control. Su Wen could easily manipulate the paper swords from a distance, but it consumed a lot of soul power. The farther away from himself, The more soul power it consumed 7 at this moment, he only provided the initial force when the paper swords were around him. Afterward, the paper swords relied on inertia to fly. Well, they were called flying swords, but it would be more accurate to call them flying darts. A paper sword flew out, and once again, a page from Su Wen's heavenly book in front of him detached, quickly folding into another paper sword. Although Su Wen tried to save soul power as much as possible, this fighting method still consumed a significant amount of it. At least, it was something a level 10 spirit scholar couldn't sustain. But, I have a backup hidden energy. While shooting out flying swords to disrupt Xiao Chenayu's attacks, Su Wen maneuvered around him, simultaneously drawing origin soul power from the martial spirit space to replenish the consumption for. Chapter 6, How is he not exhausted after so many shots? Xiao Chenayu started regretting his carelessness. In order to demonstrate the power of his spirit ring spirit skill, he released his spirit skill right from the start. It's not entirely his fault either. After all, an 11-year-old kid who just obtained his first spirit ring, it's normal to show off a bit. But because of that his soul power was quickly draining. Yet, Su Wen shot the paper swords accurately as if he endless soul power. The swooshing sound through the air unconsciously brought a stinging sensation. Moreover, Xiao Chenai was hit by one of these paper swords, and even with his beast martial spirit transformation, his body had been pierced leaving a not-so-shallow wound. Damn, how does this guy still have soul power? Controlling a tool martial spirit from a distance inherently consumes soul power. He has already shot out so many paper swords, and they have dissipated. How does he still have soul power? The strength of the paper swords far exceeded Su Wen's current martial spirit itself, relying on soul power to enhance it. Since Su Wen lacks the ability to remotely retrieve the paper swords, all the shot swords directly dissipates, wasting the soul power used to reinforce them since he couldn't retrieve them. Even so, after shooting more than 10 times, he still looked full of energy. Xiao Chenayu felt strained. After struggling for so long, he didn't hit Su Wen once. Instead, as time went on, he had more and more wounds on his body, and the pain caused more and more mistakes too. Damn it, have some guts and stop running, Xiao Chenayu roared, charging straight towards Su Wen, determined to get close to him even if he was shot. As you wish, Su Wen did not continue shooting paper swords. A large number of pages peeled off from the heavenly book, swirling around Su Wen's right hand, layer by layer wrapping around it. 2 soul power burst forth from his leg, instantly strengthening his leg muscles. He forcefully pushed off the ground, coordinating his entire body's strength, his waist driving his whole body, and his right fist swung fiercely. Bang! Su Wen's fist fiercely collided with Xiao Chenayu's claw. Subsequently, Xiao Chenayu couldn't help but step back a few steps. His right hand ached. He looked at Su Wen, with a hint of disbelief in his eyes. This Su Wen has such great strength, but Su Wen didn't think much of it. Spirit at the age of 6, he continuously tempered his body with the nurturing of soul power. If he weren't worried about affecting his physical development, his physical strength at this moment could be even stronger. Of course, the force of this punch is more about a combination of punching technique, soul power, and body strength, but the enhancement brought by the soul power can be considered the key to winning this exchange. After all, even with a high physical baseline and good technique, Su Wen can at most be similar to Xiao Chenayu in terms of power considering their age difference. After the exchange, the layers of pages on Su Wen's right hand unfolded, quickly turning into a long stick, which he grasped with his hand. His right foot stomped the ground, his body rotated, utilizing the force of the rebound to spin in place before forcefully stepping out, sweeping the stick towards Xiao Chenayu. Xiao Chenayu was struck in the waist by the paper stick and immediately flew backward. Bang! As Xiao Chenayu landed and was helped up by his companions, the students around, who were watching the spectacle, widened their eyes, looking at Su Wen in disbelief. Su Wen won. Remote-controlled flying swords, close combat with hammering staff sweeps. It's not just a simple victory. From a performance point of view, Su Wen's strength is overwhelmingly superior to Xiao Chenayu. Although Su Wen introduced it as the Heavenly Book martial spirit, many students clearly saw Su Wen's martial spirit as nothing more than an ordinary book. Could it really be a top-tier martial spirit? The Heavenly Book? Su Wen, you're amazing. Xiao Chenayu, concede defeat. In the future, in the academy, no one will disturb you. Xiao Chenayu could accept the loss, and after saying so, He turned and left too. Today's defeat left him feeling ashamed and wanting to leave as soon as possible to save whatever face he has left. In the principal's office, the Grandmaster and a bald middle-aged man were having a conversation. Haha, Grandmaster, have you heard the news? The bald middle-aged man spoke, looking at the Grandmaster, saying, it seems like the Academy has got a genius this time. Oh, listening to the bald man recount a battle between Su Wen and Xiao Chenyu, the Grandmaster frowned. Su Wen? Could his martial spirit really be top tier? No, it should be an ordinary book. Powerful book-type martial spirits do exist, but they're not so commonplace, splitting pages and using them against the enemy? That's actually a good idea. Developing combat abilities from a book martial spirit, but a book is just a book. The essence of the book martial spirit is too fragile. Perhaps it may have some combat capability now, but in the future, the disparity in attack intensity is too great and won't be effective in battles. How come? Do you know him? Baldine, noticing the Grandmaster's reaction, asked in confusion. Well, he has come to see me before, the Grandmaster. Baldine suddenly realized, I see, no wonder he can develop the book martial spirit so excellently. The Grandmaster shook his head, denying the assumption, refused to take credit. No, I haven't taught him anything. Then what now? Are you going to take him as your disciple? He clearly has talent in developing martial spirits, the Baldine suggested. The Grandmaster shook his head and said, powerful book-type martial spirits exist, and I am aware of and have seen many powerful book-type martial spirits. However, the book martial spirit is inherently an auxiliary type, and moreover, a non-combatant auxiliary type. He continued, the innate spirit power of martial spirits is associated with the quality of the martial spirit itself. His innate spirit power is at least level 5, indicating that the quality of his martial spirit is not bad. But looking at the martial spirit itself, it is just an ordinary book. Clearly, it has undergone mutation, but it hasn't developed traits suitable for books. It's very likely that the mutation has increased the attack power of his book. 5. I speculate that his ability to continuously use flying swords in combat isn't necessarily because he has significantly more soul power than Xiao Chenyu, but rather because the consumption for him isn't significant, given the mutation of his book itself. Unfortunately, the mutation went in the wrong direction. Although it became stronger, it veered off course. The Baldine had a sudden realization and said, I see. Then, he patted his bald head and grinned, since you're not taking him, then I'll step in his mind. The Baldine thought, if you don't see a value, I don't mind. With at least a level 5 innate spirit power, there's still hope for him to become a spirit ancestor. I'm just a spirit ancestor myself, such a disciple would be enough for me. 7. Room 7. Su Wen, you're amazing. The working students gathered around Su Wen's bed, amazed. Who would have thought that their roommate for the past 2 years was actually a hidden master? Su Wen, from now on, you are the... Wang Sheng's expression turned serious. Stop, Su Wen interrupted him, saying, I just want to quietly cultivate. I won't stay in the academy for too long. Let's forget about that, leader. Disappointed, Wang Sheng sighed. Alright, cultivation is the main priority. After the others dispersed, Xiaopang stepped forward, looking at Su Wen with a serious expression. Brother Wen, I will definitely practice diligently from now on. Having been bullied for no reason, this experience made him feel the sorrow of the weak. Now, witnessing the effects of Su Wen's strength display, Xiaopang also recognized the importance of strength. Okay, from now on, practice martial arts with me diligently. Early the next morning, Su Wen was informed by a teacher to go to the principal's office. Knock knock knock, come in. Wen, your soul power has reached level 10. Do you have a target for your first spirit ring? Chapter 7, we are not compatible. What is my goal for my first spirit ring? It seems he already knows I reached level 10. Su Wen was surprised at how well informed the dean was. However, as the dean, it was normal for him to know about conflicts happening in the academy in a timely manner. Moreover, as a dean, it was his duty to be informed promptly when a second-year 10-level spirit scholar appeared in his academy. I don't know enough about spirit beasts yet, so I don't have a specific goal in mind right now, Su Wen said truthfully. Although there was some information on common spirit beasts in the school's teaching materials, they were all too ordinary and did not meet Su Wen's requirements. Your martial spirit is very special. It's a book martial spirit, and you can develop combat abilities, which is indeed impressive, he said with a smile. But then his expression changed. However, you should know that a book is just a book. As a tool martial spirit, it is far inferior in combat to hammer, sword, and other martial spirits. At the level of Spirit Master, and even at the level of Spirit Grandmaster, the difference is manageable and not too extreme. However, as soul power increases, this difference becomes more and more pronounced, even despair-inducing. A book martial spirit, while it is a tool martial spirit, does not belong to the common classification of martial spirits. The martial spirits you learn about are divided into categories of strong attack, agile attack, defense, control, and support, but in reality, these are all divisions within combat. A book martial spirit, under normal circumstances, is not classified as battle-oriented but rather utility-oriented. Major forces all have non-combatant spirit masters. Their martial spirits are functional, responsible for various non-combatant auxiliary tasks. In essence, they also fall under the category of support, just as the food category is a special type of support. The book martial spirit belongs to another category within the support classification, the utility category. The dean rubbed his bald head, looking at Su Wen's pensive expression, secretly pleased. This is the explanation he specifically sought from the Grandmaster. 1A book martial spirit. Spirit Master generally engages in research and finds it convenient for recording and studying. I heard from the Grandmaster that you once consulted him and had aspirations to become a scholar. The bald dean spoke a lot, and Su Wen roughly guessed his intentions. Dean, I am not compatible with you. Su Wen was not prepared to take him as a master, at least not when he was only a spirit ancestor. A spirit ancestor couldn't teach him much, perhaps even less than what he already knew. What's the use of becoming his disciple then? 3. Of course, Su Wen couldn't refuse so bluntly. He could only decline on the grounds that they were not suitable for each other. The bald dean sighed. Su Wen, you are very clever. I am an agile attack type spirit master, and if you choose the path of a scholar, indeed, we are not suitable. However, since you have developed combat capabilities, presumably, you also intend to walk the path of a battle spirit master with your book martial spirit, right? Su Wen showed a keen interest. He also figured out where the dean got his information from. The Grandmaster's knowledge was indeed extensive, and Su Wen was curious about what path he could suggest for a book martial spirit as a battle spirit master. In the Douluo land, there are all sorts of martial spirits, among which there are those that use book martial spirits and become battle spirit masters. Most of them are in the auxiliary category, with a few focusing on elemental control. The fire demon book martial spirit is one of the more famous ones, and it has produced strong individuals that reached spirit emperor level. The fire demon book? The root of elemental books. Su Wen roughly guessed the development path upon hearing the name of the martial spirit. No matter which path, there is no battle spirit master who uses a book martial spirit as a weapon. 5. One could use a book as an intermediary, mobilize elemental energy, or provide assistance, but there was no wielding of books as weapons. After all, books were too fragile. Su Wen pondered the information obtained by the bald dean from the Grandmaster and took these thoughts into consideration. Using a book as a weapon was only his initial method, convenient for spirit hunting beasts, and also served as a transitional means. However, fragility itself wasn't the issue. The so-called fragility of books was just for ordinary books too. There are also attacks using chrysanthemums. Su Wen remembered that within the immortal herbs, there was a peculiar one called the heaven chrysanthemum, which was the martial spirit of the chrysanthemum Douluo 1. It should be able to compensate for the quality issues of the book martial spirit, allowing his heavenly book to possess the strength of a weapon, for it's alright. After all, it involves the choice of the direction of lifelong cultivation. You can think about it slowly when you return, the bald dean said. What I want to discuss with you is the development of martial spirits. The spirit skills of martial spirits doesn't just come from acquiring spirit beast spirit rings, but also from the development of the martial spirit by the spirit master themselves, the bald dean said sternly. A spirit skill is actually the inherent power of the martial spirit itself. It's just that by using the spirit ring, this part of the power is guided out, and the way it's guided out determines the type of spirit skill that emerges. Ultimately, what spirit skill is obtained depends not only on the category of the spirit ring obtained but more on the development direction of the martial spirit in the spirit master's daily practice. 5. Su Wen also heard this theory for the first time. However, there are very few examples of spirit skills developed and guided independently. It's mostly a matter of luck. After inheriting the martial spirit, accumulating generation after generation, The Spirit Masters summarize the categories of spirit rings the martial spirit possesses and the techniques practiced before, selecting the most suitable spirit skill for that martial spirit to cultivate for future generations. This is why most Spirit Master families have similar spirit skills. By exercising different aspects of the martial spirit, employing various techniques, and paying attention to what to consider when absorbing the spirit ring, one can obtain the corresponding spirit skill in each specific rank. Normal martial spirits are fine, even without technical experience, they can acquire a spirit skill suitable for themselves. But your book martial spirit is different. For a book martial spirit, if you want to take the auxiliary route or manipulate elemental powers, you need techniques. And these techniques are closely guarded secrets. You have talent in developing your martial spirit. What I want to remind you is, if you want to pave your own path, try to develop your martial spirit in that direction as much as possible before acquiring a spirit ring. This way, when you absorb the spirit ring, you'll have a higher probability of obtaining the spirit skill you desire. Dean, thank you for your guidance. Su Wen expressed gratitude to the Dean and soon after left the Dean's office. On the way, Su Wen continued to ponder what the Dean had said. Other Spirit Masters rely on luck to obtain the corresponding spirit skills, and then they reflect back and formulate their techniques through practice. However, there is still a small portion of Spirit Masters who develop their martial spirits independently to guide the direction of the obtained spirit skills. Su Wen hopes to be one of them. I have a high level of control over my martial spirit, and developing it poses no difficulty at all. So, as long as the path is planned out well, I don't need to worry much about the spirit skill not aligning with my expectations. 5 Su Wen breathed a sigh of relief. That, at least, eased his mind. Go for the first spirit ring. Su Wen shook his head. Martial spirit awakened by a Spirit Master is directly proportional to their innate spirit power. However, Su Wen's 5th level innate spirit power has come from his personal training, and his martial spirit lacked corresponding quality. Only he understands himself the best. Su Wen is well aware that his first spirit ring is crucial. Development direction, he sighed bitterly. At this point, I don't even have the qualification to consider it. The first spirit ring will transform the martial spirit, and has the highest chance to cause significant transformation, and even evolving from its foundation. A spirit ring of 400 years cannot guarantee evolution. However, I don't have the qualification to absorb a spirit ring of the next level. So, I guess everything will depends on the research on origin soul power and hope it will make up for the difference. 4. Back in room 7, Su Wen entered a meditative state, beginning to sense the martial spirit space. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, New Arrivals to Room 7. The cultivation of origin soul power is similar to the cultivation of soul power. The cultivation of soul power increases its upper limit, unlocks these authorities. Within the developed range of authority, characteristics can be easily bestowed to restore soul power. However, in the undeveloped parts, the martial spirit cannot continue to bestow them rapidly. Meanwhile, the accumulation of origin soul power is similar to the expansion of martial spirit space. Upon reaching the bottleneck of every 10 levels, the authorities of the martial spirit in that stage have been developed to the limit. Only by obtaining a spirit ring can the next stage of authorities be unlocked. Continuing to cultivate will accumulate origin soul power in the martial spirit space, gradually expanding this space little by little. Once it's consumed, it can also quickly absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for recovery just like soul power. This is also why Su Wen dared to use origin soul power in yesterday's battle. Otherwise, the origin soul power he accumulated through months of hard work could be permanently depleted in a single battle, which would be too much of a waste. Cultivating origin soul power, consuming origin soul power and then restoring the origin soul power should be my focus to help me sense the existence of the martial spirit space. At the same time, if the theory is correct, with the accumulation of origin soul power during cultivation, the martial spirit space will expand larger, and during this expansion, it should be easier to sense, which will be like hitting two birds with one stone. In the blink of an eye, several months have passed. It's the beginning of another school year. Su Wen's soul power was already at level 10, and it has been over half a year since, but he still hasn't rushed to hunt spirit beasts and acquire a spirit ring. Finally, I sense the martial spirit space as expected. Su Wen was very satisfied with his cultivation progress. In front of him, a dusty book covered with a faint shimmer. Strengthening the martial spirit directly with pure origin soul power is more cost-effective. Instead of strengthening the summoned martial spirit with soul power, Su Wen directly used the origin soul power to enhance the martial spirit within the martial spirit space once he gained better control over the origin soul power too. This kind of enhancement is more pronounced, as if it is a strengthening from the very essence of the martial spirit. Origin soul power can directly enhance the martial spirit but can never truly integrate into the martial spirit to strengthen the essence of the martial spirit. Su Wen summarized the results of his recent experiments. Spirit Ring. A spirit master needs to obtain a spirit ring for the martial spirit to undergo metamorphosis and allow him to continue cultivating his soul power. Hope that, during the absorption of the spirit ring, the origin soul power can merge with the power of the spirit ring, jointly strengthening the martial spirit. Su Wen is not certain whether his idea is feasible. But he needs to try. Only in this way can he, who is unable to absorb a higher level spirit ring directly, use the process of absorbing the first spirit ring to allow his martial spirit to undergo a transformation equivalent to absorbing a spirit ring of a higher age. Hopefully, this will improve the strengthening to make equivalent to spirit beast of around 700 to 800 years. Of course, if it can reach the level of strengthening of a 1,000-year spirit ring, I don't mind. To achieve this, the origin soul power must first be abundant. I still need to stay at level 10 for a while, accumulate. Continue to cultivate. Accumulate enough origin soul power, then absorb the first spirit ring to achieve the first transformation of the martial spirit. Su Wen's presence has certainly improved the life of a working student. Under his influence, the working students in room 7 also diligently immersed themselves in their cultivation. Thud, thud. The door of room 7 was knocked. Hello, is this room 7? A young man in tattered clothes appeared at the door, his clothes patched up in many places. Despite the worn-out appearance, his clothes were surprisingly clean. Are you the new working student this year? That's right, I'm Tang San. Door. Tang San also glanced at Su Wen. After a brief eye contact, Su Wen withdrew his gaze. Regardless of the root cause for the death of Su Wen's parents, whether it be Tang Hao, the pursuit by the Spirit Hall elders Yu Guan the Chrysanthemum Douluo, and Gui Mei the Ghost Douluo. In Su Wen's eyes, they were all equally guilty. Even though it was just the aftermath of their battle, it might not mean much to them, but for Su Wen, it was a deep-seated hatred. To escape if you want to escape, pursue if you want to pursue. Once it involves me, I won't bother with the reasons. An enemy is an enemy. 7 So naturally, Su Wen will definitely clash with Tang Hao and Tang San. 2 years ago, Su Wen attempted to seek the Grandmaster because at that time, the Grandmaster was not associated with Tang San. However, now, there should be a connection. That makes them enemies. On the path of revenge, anyone who stands in the way is an enemy. Su Wen doesn't believe that Tang San would let him kill Tang Hao without interference, nor does he believe that the Grandmaster wouldn't obstruct him in this process if Tang San is involved. So, from the moment the master-disciple relationship was established, the Grandmaster and Su Wen became enemies. Tang Hao is definitely observing from some unknown corner, and Su Wen cannot underestimate Tang San with his various tricks. As for the Grandmaster, he is a spirit greed master. Of course, the most crucial point is that Su Wen's current strength is still weak. I am confident in evolving my martial spirit step by step, reaching the pinnacle of the continent step by step. But my time is limited. I must surpass Tang San before it's too late. Is this room 7? A sweet voice came from the door. It's Xiao Wu. She is much more popular than Tang San. Su Wen glanced at her but didn't continue to pay attention. 16. In the blink of an eye, another half-year has passed. I've been at level 10 for over a year. I can't continue like this. Su Wen has been at level 10 for over a year. Although there were speculations, they were never confirmed. Su Wen's attempts to verify these speculations were limited. Furthermore, over the past year, Su Wen has been practicing his original soul power and slowly increasing his reserves. I didn't find a master, and the dean has already said what needs to be said. He won't continue to help me obtain spirit rings. Su Wen doesn't regret it. The dean, after all, is a friend of the Grandmaster. It's just not suitable between him and the dean. I'll remember the favor for the advice on the martial spirit development, anymore. And it would be too much to owe. As for the 3 nobles required as guarantors for the decree from the soul hunting forest, I'll have to rely on Su Yangtao, Although Su Yanteo is a deacon of Spirit Hall, his relationship with Spirit Hall is different from the direct connections between the Grandmaster, the Dean, and Tang Hao. At the very least, it can be affirmed that Su Yanteo won't obstruct Su Wen from killing Chrysanthemum Douluo and Ghost Douluo 1. Chapter 9, The System of Spirit Hall. It's been a full 2.5 years since Su Wen experienced the martial spirit awakening ceremony. He doesn't want to continue waiting. The first spirit ring should maximize the quality of my martial spirit. Currently, Su Wen has prepared methods that can maximize the quality of the martial spirit. Using the origin soul power to maximize the quality of the martial spirit, in addition to the characteristics of the spirit ring itself, the more soul power contained in the spirit ring, the better for me. This way, the martial spirit can undergo the maximum transformation, ensuring that I won't be stuck at the bottleneck of level 30 or 40 in the future. Su Wen is very clear that his martial spirit is ordinary. Having the ordinary book martial spirit with innate spirit power is already surprising enough. After all, it was basically impossible for a soul master to cultivate to the rank of a spirit elder with an ordinary martial spirit. Not only do I want to be able to continue without practicing being restricted by my martial arts soul, but I also want to ensure that I can practice as fast as possible. One is for the immortal herb. Su Wen is definitely going to try to obtain it, but he won't daydream about things he hasn't obtained yet. Moreover, achieving the utmost transformation in each possible instance is essential, and only then can the immortal be maximally utilized. Su Wen went all the way to the Spirit Hall and successfully found Su Yanteo. Is it you? Have you reached level 10? Su Yanteo has some impression of Su Wen. It's honestly quite fast to go from level 5 soul power to level 10 in 2.5 years, especially considering Su Wen's martial spirit is just an ordinary book. But in reality, Su Wen reached level 10 in just over a year, which is obviously abnormal. According to Su Wen's speculation, because he traversed to this world from another, he was blessed with naturally strong spiritual power, compensating to some extent for the disadvantage in cultivation speed. The fact that an ordinary book martial spirit can have innate spirit power might also have something to do with this. The Grandmaster and the Dean speculated that Su Wen's martial spirit might have undergone some variation in intensity, so they didn't doubt that Su Wen broke through this point in a little over a year. Do you need a permit for the soul hunting forest? Su Yanteo frowned, looking at Su Wen, puzzled. Can't our academy help you obtain spirit rings? I want a 100-year spirit ring for my first spirit ring. Su Yanteo suddenly realized and agreed. That does seem quite unlikely. Primary Spirit Master Academy, with only the Dean having broken through to Spirit Ancestor, and the rest of the teachers not even reaching Spirit Elder, makes hunting a 100-year Spirit Beast quite dangerous. Only a Spirit Elder can relatively easily kill a 100-year Spirit Beast, but to control the Spirit Beast and let the students kill it themselves is much more difficult. Especially within the soul hunting forest. Lack of understanding about spirit beasts, misjudging their age, and underestimating their strength can lead to various crises. Therefore, besides the need to obtain spirit rings, very few spirit masters go to hunt spirit beasts, especially those who choose to become teachers at the primary Spirit Master Academy. Hunting spirit beasts for students is also primarily focused on safety as much as possible. I can apply for the permit for you, but hunting a 100-year spirit beast is not an easy task. Even I don't have the confidence to kill a 100-year spirit beast. Su Yanteo tried to persuade Su Wen. The permit is issued by the Spirit Hall, claiming to require sponsorship from 3 nobles, but in reality, internal personnel of Spirit Hall can also act as noble sponsors. As a deacon, Su Yanteo qualifies for sponsorship, and with 2 more colleagues, applying for a permit is not difficult. Don't worry, I've already assembled a team, and they will help me with the hunting, Su Wen assured. Have you found a spirit beast hunting team? Su Yanteo frowned. Sprint hunting teams vary in quality. Encountering a dedicated team is one thing, but if you come across one with low professional ethics, just finding any 100-year spirit beast to appease the situation is already considered lucky. Getting paid without doing the job or even resorting to murder to silence people is not uncommon. You can join the Spirit Hall. We at the Spirit Hall can specifically help spirit masters facing bottlenecks obtain spirit rings. With your talent, joining the Spirit Hall gives you a chance to qualify for a 100-year spirit ring. However, future spirit rings will require you to accumulate contributions on your own. Although your talent may not allow you to enter the Spirit Master Academy at the Spirit Hall, you can still learn the knowledge available in the Academy in Nuoding City's branch Spirit Hall. The hall can also provide you with an environment for cultivation. Su Yanteo thought for a moment and continued to persuade Su Wen. Spirit hunting teams are unreliable. Among the several spirit hunting teams in Nuoding City, there isn't a single reliable one. Su Wen initially thought of rejecting, but suddenly perceived the details in Su Yanteo's words. Doesn't joining Spirit Hall mean entering the Spirit Master Academy in Spirit City? Of course not. Those sent to Spirit City are a batch with higher talents. While your innate spirit power is sufficient, your martial spirit doesn't meet the standards. However, with your talent, staying in our Nuoding City's branch Spirit Hall can still provide you with more resources. I see, Su Wen nodded, continuing to gather more information from Su Yanteo. One Spirit Masters who joined Spirit Hall can also study at external Spirit Master Academies. They just carry the identity of a Spirit Hall Spirit Master. Just like the families or sects of Spirit Masters in the Spirit Master Academy. Given the situation, joining Spirit Hall might be worth considering. Su Wen didn't regret coming to Spirit Hall today to understand things better. The condition for joining the Spirit Hall is that he can gain benefits without having to endure the atmosphere in Spirit City. If he had joined earlier, even though he could have studied better in these 2.5 years, he would have undoubtedly exposed his cultivation speed. The shortcomings on the martial spirit wouldn't have been a valid excuse for not passing the application to enter Spirit City's Spirit Master Academy. As for the background check afterward, it's not a problem either. Having wasted over a year of cultivation time is already diminishing Su Wen's evaluation at the headquarters in Spirit City. As for future performance, if he successfully obtains a 100-year spirit ring, his future performance could still be promising, and there would naturally be opportunities. But if Su Wen actively avoids it, he could also escape the opportunity to go to Spirit City. I'll join Spirit Hall. Su Wen changed his mind and decided to join Spirit Hall. Su Yanteo smiled. Don't worry, your decision won't be wrong. After your awakening and returning to Spirit Hall, I did some research. I found that utility martial spirits like your book martial spirit still have other applications. We have talents in Spirit Hall with expertise in this area, different from the training direction of battle-oriented spirit masters. You utility spirit masters receive education in various branch spirit halls. For example, you can serve as a librarian in the library of our Nuoding City's branch spirit hall. When your qualifications are sufficient, you can move on to the more significant child spirit halls, even to Lord Spirit Halls and Saint Spirit Halls, holding corresponding positions. Note, the Mick will not be following the Spirit Hall route, he will simply grow under their protection in the early stages. Once grown, he will establish his own influence. 1. Chapter 10, Characteristics of the Book Martial Spirit. Su Yanteo was very happy. Xiao, joining Spirit Hall won't make you lose out. It's a pity that you wasted a year waiting for the opportunity to obtain your first spirit ring. Otherwise, with your talent, going to Spirit City's Spirit Master Academy for further studies would not be a problem. There, you can enjoy the highest level of cultivation from Spirit Hall. However, even if you can't go to Spirit City for further studies, here in our branch Spirit Hall, we will try our best to provide you with good conditions. Su Yanteo regretted not being more firm on the day Su Wen awakened his martial spirit and persuaded him to join Spirit Hall. Although you spent a year looking for a reliable spirit hunting team, the external spirit hunting teams are ultimately unreliable. I also have some understanding of the spirit hunting teams in Nuoding City, and there are basically not many with real skills and knowledge. By the way, you haven't paid the deposit, right? Su Wen shook his head and said, no, the spirit hunting team he mentioned was just an excuse, so there was naturally no deposit. He didn't expect that Su Yanteo would come up with a reason for him wasting a year of cultivation time by searching for a suitable spirit hunting team. Well, for your first spirit ring, I will have 2 other deacons help you obtain it. Now that they were on the same side, and with Su Wen's talent, joining Spirit Hall came with benefits. The current benefit was helping him hunt a 100-year spirit ring. This hunting mission also counted as a task from the branch Spirit Hall, and Su Yanteo and the other 2 deacons could earn contribution points during the process. Do you have any goals? Su Yanteo wanted to understand Su Wen's intentions because for the book martial spirit, he didn't know how to match it with spirit rings, so he wanted to see what Su Wen had in mind first. Later, when he goes to find Ma Xiunuo, he will inquire again. In Nuoding City's branch Spirit Hall, obtaining spirit rings as a spirit master involves seeking Ma Xiunuo's wise opinion. Su Wen described his intentions hesitantly, something that has a lot of soul power, Listening to Su Wen's vague direction, Su Yanteo couldn't help but feel emotional. Without a systematic guide, ordinary spirit masters could indeed take the wrong path in their cultivation. Fortunately, they brought this kid into Spirit Hall in time. Otherwise, it would have been challenging for him to find a suitable first spirit ring. Let's go. Test your soul power at Grandmaster Xiunuo's place, complete the final registration, and you'll be an official member of Spirit Hall. Su Yanteo led Su Wen upstairs and knocked on the door of one of the rooms when they arrived. Come in, an elderly voice sounded. Grandmaster Xiunuo? Yanteo, why are you here? Inside, an elderly figure seated behind a spacious desk looked up at Su Yanteo and inquired. Xiunuo also noticed Su Wen. Grandmaster Xiunuo, this is Su Wen. I helped him awaken his martial spirit 2.5 years ago, and now he has cultivated to level 10, ready to join our Spirit Hall. Oh, Xiunuo's eyes lit up. He broke through to level 10 in just 2.5 years? With this talent, becoming a spirit ancestor was almost a certainty, even if not a spirit king, although it was a branch of Spirit Hall. Nuoding City's branch Spirit Hall had many deacons but lacked even a hall master. Spirit elders didn't bother staying in such small places like Nuoding City, they preferred advancing to the much larger child spirit halls. Accurately speaking, establishments like their branch Spirit Hall are more like small bases set up for the awakening of martial spirits in ordinary people. When a youngster with the potential to become a spirit ancestor joined their branch Spirit Hall, Xiunuo naturally has expectations. Child, your name is Su Wen, right? Let's finish your registration. Xiunuo waved to Su Wen and asked. Testing soul power, registering information. After completing all the formalities, Su Yanteo brought Su Wen to the library on the second floor. This is the library of the branch Spirit Hall. Inside, you'll find information related to martial spirit cultivation. Although we lack in spirit master facilities compared to the advanced spirit halls, our data is comprehensive. It's much richer than what Nuoding City Primary Spirit Master Academy teaches. Su Yanteo pointed to a row of bookshelves, saying, over there are materials on common spirit beasts. You can take a look when you have time to see if there's a suitable spirit beast for you. Unfortunately, even Grandmaster Xiunuo doesn't know how to cultivate your book martial spirit. For now, let's continue with your original plan of obtaining a spirit ring with high soul power. Having more soul power is not a bad thing. Su Wen approached, examining the shelves with various categories. He found a section on plant-type spirit beasts, looking at the titles one by one and selecting his targets. Seeing this, Su Yanteo didn't interrupt. He left the library, preparing to find deacons who could accompany him in hunting spirit beasts. Spirit Essence Mushroom possesses powerful regeneration capabilities, able to store a large amount of soul power. Heavenly Spirit Vine, abundant soul power, and resilient. Star Grass transforms stellar energy, rapidly restoring soul power. 2. Su Wen's focus was on plant-type spirit beasts. Among the 10 core characteristics of martial spirits, one stated that beast martial spirits could absorb plant-type spirit rings, and plant-type martial spirits could absorb spirit rings from animal-type spirit beasts. However, just because they could absorb them doesn't mean it's necessary to absorb them just for the sake of it. Could plant-type martial spirits completely digest the essence of the animal-type spirit rings they absorbed? I'm afraid the process of evolving martial spirits can only happen if the spirit ring possesses strong qualities that can forcefully guide the evolution. For example, the durability and toxicity of the Datura snake enhance the blue-silver grass, but they are ultimately different species, and the enhancement is not entirely seamless. I still need to find something compatible with my book spirit. As long as it aligns with the development direction of the martial spirit, it can't be considered wrong. After all, most tool martial spirits can't find a spirit beast that perfectly matches, such as a hammer martial spirit not finding a hammer spirit beast. But my book martial spirit is a bit different. Books are related to plants. Absorbing spirit rings from plant-type spirit beasts can make it easier for Su Wen to absorb the soul power within and evolve his martial spirit 3. These spirit beasts all seem good, but they're all missing something. Su Wen continued to browse through the spirit beast's information. Time passed. With the book martial spirit, Su Wen's efficiency in acquiring knowledge, especially through reading, is extremely high. By merging the martial spirit into the books, with one glance he can comprehend a vast amount of information. Although not instantaneous, The efficiency is greatly increased too. In just half a day, Su Wen had read almost half of the information in the library about spirit beasts. Xiaoan, Su Yanteo's voice came from the doorway. Su Wen placed a book he was holding back on the shelf and went to the door. Brother Tao, how's it going? Have you found a suitable spirit beast? Yeah, I have a few targets. Suits you the best. Oh, by the way, these two will be our companions when we go spirit beasts. Su Yanteo stepped aside, revealing a male and a female spirit master dressed in spirit hall deacon uniforms behind him. This is Sissy, my girlfriend, also a high-level spirit hunting master. Her martial spirit is a whip, 5, and this is Fen Yuan, whose martial spirit is the wind baboon. Among the three of us, he has the strongest frontal combat abilities. Chapter 11, The Compatible Spirit Ring. Wind baboon. Su Wen looked surprised at Feng Yuan. Yeah, just call me Uncle Feng. Su Yanteo's face turned black. This old Feng still loves taking advantage. Brother Tao, since we are all here, there's no need to wait any longer. Let's go right now, Su Wen said. As the person involved, how could he not be eager to hunt for his spirit ring after preparing all this time for it? Okay, the others agreed. The four of them, the well-equipped guardians, upon seeing the spirit hall robes of Su Yanteo and the others, greeted them respectfully. However, greetings aside, the necessary inspection still needed to be carried out. With an order, Su Yanteo and his group surrounded Su Wen from 3 directions to protect him in the middle and led him into the spirit hunting forest. Although it's said to be enclosed, the Empire only surrounds this forest. Most of the spirit beasts inside still grow naturally, and their wildness is preserved, Su Yanteo said solemnly, temporarily giving up even flirting and emphasizing safety details with Su Wen. Within the spirit hunting forest, there are indeed century-old spirit beasts, and quite a few of them. However, overall, the majority are spirit beasts that are a decade old. After searching for a while, the 4 of them actually found 3 spirit beasts that were over 100 years old. However, none of them were what Su Wen needed, so the 4 of them wisely avoided these century-old spirit beasts from a distance. Plant-based spirit beasts are relatively rare, but there is a specific area in this spirit hunting forest with a higher concentration of plant-based spirit beasts. Sissy spoke up. Her martial spirit is a whip, and when obtaining her spirit rings, she had also searched for plant-based spirit beasts. The martial spirit, his emerald eyes scanned the surroundings. Suddenly, his gaze fixed on the ink-green vines. Ghost vine. There was actually a ghost vine in the spirit hunting forest. Ghost vine is considered a more advanced spirit beast. Even though it's a plant-based spirit beast that cannot move easily, hunting it is not any easier than most animal-based spirit beasts. Its most powerful ability is parasitism, and spirit masters often get parasitized by ghost vines. At least 600 years old ghost vine, Su Wen speculated, could this be the same ghost vine that Tang San hunted in the original work? 5. Continuing to search in the surroundings. Xiaoan, you're lucky. Su Yanteo's emerald eyes revealed a hint of excitement. Following Su Yanteo's gaze, Su Wen saw the source of his excitement. It was a 3-meter-high purple fruit tree emitting a faint starlight. On the tree, there were 9 purple fruits with yellow or white patterns. Starlight Fruit Tree. This fruit tree would definitely not disappoint as your first spirit ring. Moreover, with 3 yellow patterned starlight fruits and 6 white patterned starlight fruits, it should be a cultivation of 360 years. 360 years would be more than enough for a first spirit ring. Su Wen had also seen the introduction of the Starlight Fruit Tree in the library. The starlight fruits produced by the Starlight Fruit Tree were treasures for spirit beasts, capable of directly enhancing their strength. Producing a white patterned starlight fruit represented a cultivation of 10 years. At the age of 100, 10 white patterned starlight fruits would fall off, and a new yellow patterned starlight fruit would form. Around the Starlight Fruit Tree, there would usually be spirit beasts guarding, waiting to devour the fallen starlight fruits. Forcibly picking the fruits was inadvisable. The violent stellar energy within them, if ingested, not only severe could not be digested but might rampage within the body, causing internal injuries. The cultivation of the fruit tree is that it absorbs stellar energy to produce fruits, then transmutes the violent stellar energy. Part of the transmuted energy remains in the starlight fruit, turning into gentle power. Another part transforms into the strength of the Starlight Fruit Tree. Afterwards, the fruit tree continues to absorb stellar energy, directing it to be stored in the starlight fruits for further transformation. Wen's decision. To take or not to take, Starlight fruit trees are usually refined by auxiliary spirit masters, allowing them to gain strengthening auxiliary spirit skills. Especially for food spirit masters, the effects can be maximized. Xiaoan, your book martial spirit follows the auxiliary route quite well. Even without skill development, with the guidance of the tree's power, you are likely to obtain a powerful auxiliary spirit skill, Sissy said. The characteristics of the spirit ring itself is very obvious. Even without the need for the development of the martial spirit or specific skills, one would still acquire a corresponding spirit skill under the guidance of the spirit ring. In order to obtain a suitable spirit skill, she had researched information on spirit skills too. Su Wen nodded and said, Brother Tao, Uncle Feng, Sister Sissy, I appreciate your help, Starlight Fruit Tree. This is undoubtedly the most suitable spirit ring for his first one. The Starlight Fruit Tree continuously refines stellar energy, undergoing tempering and constant improvement. It benefits the refinement of my martial spirit and the future strengthening of enhancement spirit skill, auxiliary spirit skill. Su Wen smiled inwardly. Sorry, but I also have a direction for the spirit skill I plan to develop, and the target of its enhancement is my own martial spirit, whether it's briefly manifesting pages with soul power or directly strengthening martial spirit with origin soul power. Su Wen's development is in the enhancement direction of his own martial spirit, not that of others. I hope I will get the results I want. While Su Wen was contemplating, Su Yantao and the others had already initiated the battle. Feng Yuan, fused with his martial spirit, had a faint green aura swirling around his body. His physique became much more robust, and his hands transformed into strong and powerful claws. Sissy wielded a purple whip in her hand, positioned behind Su Yantao and Feng Yuan, while subtly looking out for Su Wen. The violent bear, upon noticing the four of them, immediately assumed a vigilant posture. When Su Yantao and Feng Yuan fused with their martial spirits, the soul power within the violent bear surged to roar. This violent bear has at least a cultivation of 500 years. Be cautious, Su Yantao transformed into green afterimage, appearing at the side of the violent bear. Wind-attributed soul power enveloped Feng Yuan, preparing for a head-on collision with the violent bear. Sissy swung her long whip, entangling the right leg of the violent bear. At this moment, Su Wen's inner thoughts were somewhat stirred. You're all in the battle and don't worry about my safety. Chapter 12, Absorbing the First Spirit Ring. The power of the violent bear is extremely great. Moreover, it is known for its explosive power. With the strengthening of the Starlight Fruit from the Starlight Fruit Tree, this violent bear can unleash 80 and withstand a level of explosive power surpassing that of an ordinary violent bear. Its overall strength is equivalent to at least a 700-year spirit beast. Even the 3 spirit Grandmasters educated by the Spirit Hall system found it somewhat challenging to deal with. The key point is that the Starlight Fruit Tree itself is also a spirit beast. This Starlight Fruit Tree is extremely compatible with me. I must obtain its spirit ring. Sissy did not fully unleash her true strength because she also had to guard against the Starlight Fruit Tree attacking Su Wen. Su Wen summoned the book martial spirit, surrounding herself with pages of his book, just to free Sissy's combat power. Sissy was also unsure about Su Wen's defensive capabilities. Instinctively, no, even rationally, she didn't believe that Su Wen had any defensive capabilities. However, Su Wen also reminded her, the best protection is to quickly deal with the enemy. The sooner the violent bear is taken care of, the less likely the danger will descend upon Su Wen. Be careful yourself. As she spoke, Sissy's second yellow spirit ring instantly shimmered. Su Yantao noticed this scene and also instantly unleashed his second spirit skill. Second spirit skill, Bloodthirsty Lone Wolf. His speed instantly increased, his green pupils turned red, and the emanating soul power became ferocious. He swiftly charged at the violent second spirit bear from the side, followed by an eruption of the first spirit skill. First spirit skill, Lone Wolf Blood Claw, a pair of wolf claws, extremely sharp, descended with his agile movements, striking down. Slash. Skill, Enchanting Whip. While Su Yantao attracting the attention of the violent bear, Sissy also swung her long whip. The whip was now covered with thorns, incredibly sharp. In an instant, the whip landed on the right side of the violent bear's body. With a single lash, a bloodstain appeared. The whip was pulled back, coiling around the violent bear after a few rounds. First spirit skill, Whip Restrained, paused for a moment. When it fell, it only grazed Su Yantao, leaving a wound on his right leg. The whip continued to tighten, and the violent bear experienced extreme pain at the moment. Su Wen looked at the whip, covered in menacing thorns, and observed the contact points with a restrained violent bear, which were now drenched in blood. Hiss! The sensation of the thorny whip restraining the violent bear made Su Wen feel bad for having a girlfriend like this, too. Swoosh! Meanwhile, the Starlight Fruit Tree finally took action. A thick branch lashed towards Su Wen, and there was even a faint sound of breaking through the air. Bang! Su Wen could barely see the branch swung by the Starlight Fruit Tree and instantly crossed his hands in front of him, with 5 pages of the book attached to his forearms. His body was whipped away, and before landing, the book pages folded to form a cushion under him, reducing the impact force. Rolling on the ground for more than 10 meters, Su Wen quickly half-knelt, assuming a defensive posture. His arms were in intense pain. The Starlight Fruit Tree was not skilled in combat, and even if it attempted to attack by moving its branches, the force was not strong. Nevertheless, a branch strike still inflicted a considerable injury on Su Wen. Fortunately, Brother Tao and the others brought me here. If he were alone, even without the protection of the violent bear, Su Wen would only be able to escape for his life, let alone hunting and absorbing the spirit ring of the Starlight Fruit Tree. Xiaoan, Sissy's expression changed, looking in Su Wen's direction. She immediately controlled the long whip to continuously extend, ruthlessly restraining the violent bear. The whip tightened around the violent bear's body, binding it completely. Feng Yuan's second spirit skill erupted. Second spirit skill, Rampage. Similar to Su Yangtao, his second spirit skill was also an explosive type, enhancing his physical qualities and strengthening the power of the martial spirit. In the current state of martial spirit fusion, a full force strike was more than twice as powerful as usual. Bang! Feng Yuan and Sissy suppressed the violent bear, while Su Yangtao, enduring the pain in his right leg, transformed into a beam of light and quickly blocked Su Wen's front. The Starlight Fruit Tree itself was not suitable for combat. No matter how robust it was ultimately a fruit tree, not a vine, lacking many means in combat. The just extracted branch had a lot of preliminary movements. Although it carried considerable force, it was quite slow since it need to retract it each time it attacks. If it weren't for Su Wen not being a spirit master yet and the sudden attack from the Starlight Fruit Tree, he might have had time to evade. Under normal circumstances, the Starlight Fruit Tree would not engage in battle because it didn't have much utility, similar to Su Wen not joining the siege against the violent bear with Su Yangtao and the others. The strength of whip restraint was substantial, coupled with the thorn-induced damage and Feng Yuan's continuous attacks. The violent bear had no chance to gather strength and break free. First spirit skill, Swift Wind Fist. Feng Yuan's fist, infused with wind attribute soul power, smashed into the face of the violent bear. The wind attribute soul power stirred, incredibly sharp, piercing through the right eye of the violent bear. Bang! The violent bear fell to the ground, continuously roaring. Sissy exerted full force in restraining it, ensuring it couldn't counterattack and harm Feng Yuan during its struggles. As the struggling strength of the violent bear gradually weakened, Feng Yuan joined Su Yangtao in attacking the Starlight Fruit Tree. Bang! 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 The defense of the Starlight Fruit Tree was formidable, and under the relentless attacks of the two, the trunk gradually shattered. After a full 10 minutes of continuous assault, more than half of the branches of the Starlight Fruit Tree were broken, and the trunk had numerous shattered openings. Xiaoan, cut off this purple last vein, it's like cutting off its roots. Su Wen took a dagger from Sissy and approached slowly, stabbing fiercely into the purple vein. 5 consecutive stabs, and the purple vein lost its luster. The entire Starlight Fruit Tree seemed to instantly lose its vitality. The 9 starlight fruits fell to the ground and a bright halo appeared around it. Xiaoan, adjust your state and prepare to absorb the spirit ring. Su Wen sat cross-legged on the ground, meditating to replenish the expanded soul power. Fearful of affecting the spirit ring absorption, Su Wen had barely used origin soul power during the recent events. The pain in his arms had somewhat eased, but there was still some numbness. Xiaoan, once your soul power is restored, absorb the spirit ring as soon as possible, Sissy reminded. She was still restraining the violent bear. The struggling strength of the violent bear had diminished significantly with the whip constricting it, and blood flowing continuously from its wounds. Moreover, it seemed that the whip was coated with poison, causing the violent bear to fall into an extremely weakened state. Okay, Su Wen nodded, his gaze determined. He released his martial spirit, and a book emitting a shimmering white light appeared in front of him. Then he expanded his soul power toward the spirit ring. The bright yellow spirit ring, detaching from the Starlight Fruit Tree and encircled Su Wen responded, and he instantly felt a surge of immense power flowing into his body. At the same time, he could sense an inherent power from the spirit ring entering the martial spirit space. Chapter 13, Enhancement Type Spirit Skill. The power of the spirit ring is making my physique stronger, but that's not the most important thing. Su Wen sensed his own changes as he guided his martial spirit to absorb the spirit ring, feeling the natural integration of the spirit ring into the martial spirit. Spirit masters absorbing spirit rings seems only natural, and when the martial spirit reaches a corresponding level and kills a spirit beast, the martial spirit will naturally start absorbing the spirit ring. However, Su Wen, using his own talent, with an exceptionally strong perception of himself, started sensing the presence of his martial spirit space. At this moment, with the process of absorbing the spirit ring, Su Wen's perception is even clearer, to the point where his awareness of the martial spirit space reached the same level as his usual control over his own body. The soul power of the spirit ring is ultimately that of the spirit ring. If I want it to become mine, I must make it accept the best characteristics out by my martial spirit, within the martial spirit space. Wisps of soul power from the spirit ring integrated. This is the soul power of the spirit ring after circulating within Su Wen's body, essence of the spirit ring. A different unique aura directly merged into the martial spirit space, carrying a very familiar scent to Su Wen. The generation of the spirit ring requires the absorption of the essence of the spirit beast. The essence of the spirit beast is the fundamental existence of the spirit ring. As these essences surged into the martial spirit space, Su Wen could finally confirm that everything that needed to be done had already begun. Soul power in the spirit ring will circulate through the various meridians in the body. Tempering the body might be just a byproduct. The real reason is that it's challenging for it to be integrated into the martial spirit space, so it will accumulate in the body. If the soul power contained within the spirit ring is too immense, the meridians of the spirit master will be unable to withstand the accumulation of this soul power, leading to the body exploding and his demise. After experimenting, Su Wen transferred more spirit ring soul power into the martial spirit space. No impact, it still circulates within the body, not because it's necessary, but because it can't enter. Su Wen opened up the martial spirit space, making a little effort to let this spirit ring soul power squeeze in. It's too much, it can't come in anymore. 5. Su Wen promptly stopped the injection and started to attempt manipulating the spirit ring soul power absorbed within the martial spirit space. This spirit ring soul power is neither the origin soul power cultivated by himself, nor the soul power bestowed with characteristics by the martial spirit. He doesn't have direct control over it. So, he was relying only on the basic relationship established with the spirit ring and the use of origin soul power to make simple adjustments. It's time to give it a try. Su Wen mobilized origin soul power, delicately integrating it into the martial spirit that is currently merging with the spirit ring's essence, while trying to avoid any mistakes. As origin soul power merged with the martial spirit, Su Wen's excitement grew. Yes, the integrated origin soul power became the nourishment for the evolution of the martial spirit. I can't continue to merge it. Su Wen stopped the operation of merging origin soul power. First, use up the soul power of the spirit ring, then merge the origin soul power. He need the origin soul power to manipulate the spirit ring soul power, so naturally, he can't deplete the origin soul power first. 1. The transformation of martial spirit by the spirit ring also requires energy consumption. Normally, this energy comes from the essence of the spirit ring, and a small proportion of the spirit ring soul power that slowly infiltrates the martial spirit space, but I can change that one by actively mobilizing more spirit ring soul power to penetrate into the martial spirit space, integrating into the process of transforming martial spirit with the spirit ring. It becomes the energy for the spirit ring's transformation. This results in less meaningless consumption of the essence energy of the spirit ring and allows for a more extensive evolution of my martial spirit. Using a small portion of his origin soul power, Su Wen manipulated the spirit ring soul power and merged into the essence of the spirit ring that was entering his martial spirit space, allowing it to serve as the energy source consumed for evolving the martial. This way, the martial spirit was gradually growing stronger, and Su Wen, filled with genuine joy, summarized the entire process in excitement finer details. But this kind forkful, don't worry, Xiao's aura has been continuously strengthening, and I can sense his martial spirit undergoing transformation. This is a good sign. Sissy observed more closely. This spirit ring is very suitable for him. At this moment, Su Wen has depleted nearly half of the origin soul power in the martial spirit space. The transformation of the martial spirit is ultimately limited, and now it has reached its limit. In simple terms, it's full, like having eaten too much. Even if he continues to integrate origin soul power to support it, he can continue, otherwise, the martial spirit would be overstretched. There's still some origin soul power and spirit ring soul power left. With the completion of the martial spirit's transformation, Su Wen also sensed that he has broken through his own bottleneck. Origin soul power circulated, integrating into the soul power within his body. The remaining spirit ring soul power circulating within Su Wen's body, after infiltrating the martial spirit space, was also refined into soul power and integrated back into Su Wen's body. Little by little, Su Wen refined all the soul power. Another half hour passed. Opening his eyes, Su Wen felt as if he's entered a new world. His current inner state can be described as extremely complex. Success. Absorbing the first spirit ring is just the most basic step. For Su Wen, what truly excited him and lifted a long-standing weight off his heart was the evolution of his martial spirit. My theory is correct. The joy of personally verifying the success of his theory brought delight to Su Wen. Xiaoan, how is the first spirit skill? Su Yantao can tell from Su Wen's expression that it must be something impressive and decided to ask. However, he doesn't directly inquire about the effectiveness of Su Wen's spirit skill. Brother Tao, the spirit skill's effect is excellent. Spirit Master's spirit skills are considered personal privacy and are generally not disclosed unless the relationship is exceptionally close. However, since Su Yantao and the others assisted him in hunting the spirit ring, Su Wen naturally doesn't hide. My spirit skill is an enhancement type spirit skill, support type. Su Yantao's eyes light up. He always thought that Su Wen would excel in this support direction, and now, learning about Su Wen's spirit skill type, he felt genuinely happy for him. Brother Tao, let me finish, Su Wen interrupted Su Yantao with a helpless smile. Brother Tao, you got excited too soon. It is indeed an enhancement type spirit skill, with a support nature. However, this spirit skill acts on my own martial spirit, not on others. Chapter 14, Attempting the Spirit Skill. Assist your own martial spirit. Su Yantao was dumbfounded. This spirit skill is similar to the effect of an auxiliary type spirit master absorbing the Starlight Fruit Tree, but it is different. It is cast on oneself and cannot be used to enhance teammates. Then your spirit skill should still be considered a battle type spirit skill. Strengthening one's own state to enhance combat power is also a common battle type spirit skill. However, it is rare for spirit masters who absorb the Starlight Fruit Tree to obtain this type of spirit skill. After all, according to experience, spirit masters of various categories such as strong attack, agile attack, and even defense will seek spirit beasts in their corresponding fields to obtain spirit rings. Which attack type spirit master would find a star fruit tree soul ring with poor combat effectiveness to obtain status increasing soul skills? Of course, there are auxiliary spirit masters who seek spirit beasts particularly strong in certain aspects to obtain auxiliary type spirit skills. For example, the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda can acquire defensive auxiliary soul skills by hunting the powerful one-horned giant rhinoceros. Sigh, you're really going further down the path of using books as weapons, Su Yantao sighed. On his way here, he also learned about Su Wen's situation and tried to advise him. Using a book martial spirit as a weapon is inherently inferior to martial spirits like hammers and swords. To bridge this gap, it's not just a matter of a perfect spirit ring match. Su Wen understands the logic behind Su Yantao's words. However, having combat power is essential for high. Indeed, when used purely as a weapon, a book martial spirit has no advantage compared to various martial spirits like swords and hammers. 5. But the fighting style of a book martial spirit master doesn't necessarily have to be limited to using books as weapons. Su Wen is limited by his current abilities and can only develop this particular fighting style, lacks the capability in that direction. He doesn't have any foundational spirit skills of any attribute, making it impossible to develop in that aspect. The first spirit ring is the foundation for everything Su Wen does, affecting both his future training speed and the limit of his martial spirit quality. It's crucial to address this early on. Therefore, he cannot afford to explore the direction of magic books this time. Now that Xiaoan's spirit ring has been fully absorbed, we should leave as soon as possible. The spirit hunting forest is inherently dangerous. While it's uncertain if there are 1,000-year spirit beasts, it's impossible to guarantee their absence in the spirit hunting forest. Returning to the spirit hall, Su Wen expressed his gratitude to Feng Yuan, Sissy, and Su Tao then proceeded to register with Grandmaster Xiunuo. On the way back, Su Wen found himself in a dilemma. I can't show off too much? If my qualification for practicing in Spirit City is approved, it could be troublesome. He doesn't think the benefits of going to Spirit City are small, but going there is where everything is truly unpredictable. Who knows the limits of a title Douluo's abilities? At the level of title Douluo, even without actively cultivating spiritual power, one's spiritual power will naturally grow to an exaggerated extent. What if they can sense the malice of weaker individuals with it? A mere spirit master dares to harbor murderous intent towards me, a title Douluo? You've chosen the path of death, one of course. All these worries have a premise, that is, Su Wen can mute Chrysanthemum Douluo and Ghost Douluo. Regarding this point, Su Wen was sure it would happen. After all, if he truly goes to Spirit City to get better resources there, Su Wen will have to perform at his best to gain greater benefits. He believes he might stand out too much, and meeting the title Douluo in person is not impossible one. If you were to go to Spirit City and still develops in a low-key manner, what would be the point of going to Spirit City and live in fear for nothing? So, Su Wen simply decided not to go. I've already consumed more than half of my origin soul power, and the soul power of the spirit ring has been depleted considerably during the evolution of my martial spirit. However, my soul power has still increased to the 12th level, too, but fortunately, it's only the 12th level. After all, it's a 100-year spirit ring, and Su Wen has spent another year cultivating at the 10th level. It's equivalent to Su Wen advancing one level in a year. This is actually a factor that would deduct points from Su Wen's assessment when they evaluate him. But it's still not enough. Fortunately, Su Tao provided Su Wen with some insights. Indeed, the potential of the book Martial Spirit as a weapon is ultimately too poor. Without a true transformation, being invincible in the same field, the path of development where Su Wen uses a book as a weapon is destined to be a significant deduction. 12th level. Just obtaining the first spirit ring at a 12th level is a level higher than the average spirit master. However, considering that Su Wen paused at the 10th level for a year, this level seems lower. Moreover, a 360-year Starlight Fruit Tree spirit ring. Having such a spirit ring as the first spirit ring is not uncommon in the records of the Spirit Hall, with many examples of directly elevating spirit masters to the 12th level. These spirit masters typically broke through the 10th level and quickly acquired a spirit ring. Sighing once again for Su Wen, Xiunuo registered Su Wen's information and handed him a golden spirit coin. As long as you become a spirit master registered in Spirit Hall, you can receive a monthly subsidy of 1 golden spirit coin. Spirit Grandmasters can receive 10 golden spirit coins, and Spirit Elders can receive 100 golden spirit coins each month. Of course, once you reach Spirit Ancestor, there won't be any subsidies. You'll have to join various forces, perhaps to receive internal subsidies within the faction. At this point, it's essentially a salary rather than a free subsidy. The golden spirit coin is provided by the two Sai. It's a pity. If the book Martial Spirit took a research-oriented path, Xiao could make a name for himself as a theoretical scholar. There is such a system within Spirit Hall. However, to become an outstanding theoretical scholar, you first need someone to support you. Even within Spirit Hall, not can casually access information and various collected data. It's all about fate, Xiunuo sighed. Whether everyone not taking the path of a utility spirit master is good or bad for Su Wen, only time will tell. Su Wen didn't immediately return to the academy. He had a full 7 days of vacation. For the remaining days, he planned to immerse himself in the Spirit Hall's library, going through all the materials from this side before making any decisions. In the library, Su Wen held a thick book in his hands. He released his martial spirit. The originally dulled book now had a completely different appearance. With a profound cover adorned with deep purple starlight, a book that looked significantly more noble appeared in front of Su Wen. A bright yellow spirit ring rose under Su Wen's feet. It's time to try out the effects of my spirit skill. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Characteristics Derived from the Evolution of Martial Spirit. Su Wen was very satisfied with the effects of the first spirit ring. Firstly, this spirit ring, while transforming and improving his martial spirit's quality, Also he had a passive effect on spirit skills, enhancing his martial spirit. It's just that the passive effect is not very obvious. Of course, these are not the most important things. The most significant is that this spirit skill, when actively deployed, can greatly enhance Su Wen's martial spirit, directly strengthening it from the source. It is equivalent to a transformation of Su Wen's martial spirit as if it had undergone a metamorphosis out of thin air. This is a spirit skill born from my development of origin soul power to strengthen the martial spirit. At this moment, Su Wen can be very certain that the theory of developing the martial spirit and guiding oneself to obtain corresponding spirit skills is correct one. Besides the inherent effects of the spirit skill, this spirit ring's enhancement of my martial spirit, in addition to a significant improvement in its fundamental quality, shows the most noticeable increase in hardness and toughness. Clearly, it is also related to my usual development. So let's call it first spirit skill, enhancement. 2. The yellow spirit ring shimmered brightly. Su Wen activated his first spirit skill. Immediately, he felt his soul power rapidly depleting, merging into the martial spirit space and blending into his martial spirit. The soul power seemed to return to its origin, integrating into the martial spirit. Moreover, the enhancement was even more apparent than that of origin soul power, with a significant magnitude. The characteristics of the book martial spirit are also apparent after this transformation, regardless of the type of spirit ring. Purely after the small evolution of Su Wen's martial spirit, it naturally acquired some traits of the book martial spirit. This skill seems to be enhancing my wisdom. 3. Su Wen felt his rapidly operating brain, a clarity washing over him. His eyes emitted a radiant light of wisdom as he looked at the book in his hands, significantly boosting his digestion speed. Just 1 minute later, a thick set of information was completely absorbed by him. It's not about making me smarter but making me more rational and clear-headed when thinking. With a faster brain processing speed, basically, he can think more in less time rather than understand anything at a glance. But he can make up for the efficiency gap with quantity over quality. 3. For me, 10's enough. About % of his soul power was as consumed. He continued reading the materials. 10 minutes passed. Su Wen's soul power was depleted, but he was full of energy. This efficiency is too high. This was just in the realm of pure learning. The first spirit skill provides all-around enhancement, applicable even in combat. In the past 10 minutes, rather than experiencing the effects of the first spirit skill, Su Wen felt the awakening of new characteristics in his martial spirit after its evolution. Even now, with his soul power depleted, Su Wen could sense that his learning far surpassed what it was before obtaining the spirit ring. The most important aspect of this characteristic for me is that it makes it easier for me to access spiritual. It's not a big problem if I lag behind a bit on the first and second spirit rings, as long as I can use these two opportunities to solidify my foundation. By the time Su Wen's soul power cultivation speed has never been slow from the beginning due to the strength of his spiritual power. The speed of refining the key of heaven and earth has always been fast. Coupled with external training and the exploration of increasingly perfect soul power operation routes, his cultivation speed was already outstanding among his peers. Now, with the evolution of his martial spirit, he has received a fundamental improvement in his aptitude, and the advantage of his spiritual power is even more evident. The development of both internal and external skills needs to be accelerated. Joining Spirit Hall has provided Su Wen with genuine knowledge reserves. It is no longer purely theoretical research based on imagination but rather supported by data, with a substantial amount of common sense that can be directly applied. Back at the academy, Su Wen entered the cultivation mode again, until Tang San broke through to level 20, preparing to obtain his second spirit ring. Room 7. Xiao-san, your cultivation speed is too fast, isn't it? Exclaimed Wang Xing and others. It has been just over 2 years since entering the Nuoding Academy. Upon careful calculation, Tang San is only 8 years old, still not 9 yet. An 8-year-old spirit grandmaster. 3. Deep envy was evident in Wang Sheng's eyes. Looking at Su Wen, who was still obviously meditating, he sighed. Su Wen's cultivation speed is not slow either. He should be close to breaking through to level 20 as well. Su Wen is 2 years older than Tang San, making him at least 10 years old now. In comparison to the awe-inspiring 8-year-old spirit grandmaster Tang San, Su Wen seems much more ordinary. Of course, Tang San has not yet obtained his second spirit ring, so he cannot be considered a true spirit grandmaster yet. Xiao Wu, tomorrow I will go hunt for spirit rings with my teacher. Don't cause any trouble in the academy, Tang San affectionately advised Xiao Wu 1, Su Wen, let's celebrate. Will you join us? Wang Xing approached Su Wen and asked. Opening his eyes, Su Wen shook his head. Alright, Wang Xing and the others left, leaving Su Wen alone. It's been 2 years since I obtained the first spirit ring. My soul power has also perhaps it's the blue silver grasses martial spirit that slowed down Tang San's progress, not my exceptional abilities, Su Wen warned himself. My talent still needs improvement, there's room for further advancement. 7 With the experience from the last time, Su Wen doesn't plan to hastily obtain his second spirit ring. According to the master's theory, the maximum age limit for acquiring the second spirit ring is 764 years. This time frame is just dated to prevent being slapped in the face. Different spirit masters have different physical conditions, and the essence of the spirit ring from different spirit beasts also has an impact. Therefore, 764 years is just a limit to prevent the body from exploding for a normal spirit masters during the absorption period. My martial spirit isn't suitable for body forging, but I have been consistently exercising my body. With a combination of internal and external training, my body is strong in all aspects. Most importantly, he found a technique to enhance the age limit when he absorbed his first spirit ring. All in all, even if my second spirit ring can't absorb 1,000 years, it could withstand at least 900 years, along with Su Wen's guidance and sufficiently accumulated origin soul power. The improvement of the martial spirit with the second spirit ring will be no less than that of a 1,000-year spirit ring. So, I can graduate early. Chapter 16, Old Jerry becomes a spirit master. There are no spiritual attribute spirit beasts in the soul hunting forest, so in order to obtain the second spirit ring, Su Wen can only make a trip to the starred out Great Forest. And this time, he doesn't plan to come back. After Tang San returned, Su Wen also went to the dean's office to submit his graduation application. Graduating early, looking at Su Wen, the bald dean confirmed again, "Are you sure, Dean?" "I'm very sure." Su Wen's gaze was very firm. The dean rubbed his bald head, didn't stop Su Wen, and began to process his graduation procedures. This is the recommendation letter from Nuoding Primary Spirit Master Academy. If you want to join the Intermediate Spirit Master Academy, you should be able to use this recommendation letter. Su Wen took the recommendation letter. He knew that he probably wouldn't need it. The Spirit Master Academy is very good, with many facilities. If he can stand out, he will be strongly nurtured for the Spirit Master competition to be able to achieve good results. But Su Wen is still far from all of this at the moment. The Spirit Master competition is at least 6 years away. With 6 years of time, from level 20 to level 40, there is definitely hope, so Su Wen is not opposed to participating in the Spirit Master competition. However, even if he wants to join the Advanced Spirit Master Academy to participate in the Spirit Master competition, Su Wen probably won't need the recommendation letter from Nuoding City's Primary Spirit Master Academy. What's truly important is always one's strength. As long as the talent is there, no academy will refuse one. Brother Wen, are you really leaving? Xiaopang was a little reluctant. Over these 4 years, although Su Wen has been focusing on cultivation, he has also given Xiaopang a lot of guidance, which has greatly improved Xiaopang's staff skills and soul power cultivation. For Xiaopang, who only has half a level of innate soul power, in just 4.5 years, he has managed to cultivate his soul power to level 9. This sufficiently already illustrated how important Su Wen's guidance has been. Before graduating from 6th grade, Xiaopang has hopes of obtaining his first spirit ring, becoming a true spirit master. This is much better than old Jerry, who also has only half a level of innate soul power. Xiaopang, don't slack off in your cultivation at the academy alone. Although breaking through from level 9 to level 10 is difficult, given your current conditions, as long as you persist, you will definitely be able to break through. I will work hard on my cultivation. Su Wen nodded. He didn't let Xiaopang stay at level 10 like himself, accumulating origin soul power to prepare for the evolution of the first spirit ring. That's unnecessary. The martial spirit space isn't something that can be easily sensed. Furthermore, Su Wen didn't mention the requirement of the 100-year spirit ring to Xiaopang either. Even if one joins the spirit hall, it's not guaranteed to have such a configuration for the first spirit ring. Su Yantao, Sissy and Feng Yuan. All of their first spirit rings are just a white 10-year spirit ring. Even if it's close to 100 years, it's still a white spirit ring. New Moon Village. Grandpa Jerry, I will be leaving soon, Xiao. Have you really made up your mind? Yes, old Jerry sighed, saying, well, you've always been very smart since you were little, knowing what you want to do. I won't stop you, but being so young outside, you must be careful. Old Jerry isn't worried about Su Wen's intelligence, he's only concerned that Su Wen might be too naive and not understand the dangers of society. Grandpa Jerry, I don't plan to leave just yet, Su Wen smiled bitterly. I'm planning to cultivate for a while longer, and when I'm ready, then I'll go get my second spirit ring. By the way, Grandpa Jerry, didn't you mention that you had a breakthrough before? Did you absorb a spirit ring? Su Wen has now developed a complete root for soul power operation from his internal strength, which can preliminarily enhance the speed of soul power operation and cultivation. He also taught internal strength to old Jerry. After old Jerry obtained internal strength and naturally broke through to level 10 by operating soul power with a complete internal strength root, not yet, old Jerry shook his head. To obtain a spirit ring, one has to hunt spirit beasts, but he doesn't have that ability. Moreover, entering the soul hunting forest also requires a warrant from the spirit hall and the sponsorship of 3 nobles, but where could he find people to voucher for him? Therefore, after breaking through level 10, he only intends to rely on luck. If he can encounter spirit beasts in the wild and has a chance to kill them, he will absorb the spirit ring. Obtaining the warrant and hunting spirit beasts are not difficult, Su Wen said, indicating that these are not problems. Grandpa Jerry, your lifelong wish is to become a spirit master, and I will definitely help you fulfill that wish. Su Wen now has the ability to hunt spirit beasts. Although he hasn't obtained the second spirit ring yet, Su Wen's overall qualities are definitely not inferior to Su Yunteo and the others. Moreover, Su Wen's first spirit skill is over 300 years old, with remarkable effects, capable of battling even 100-year spirit beasts. If handled cautiously, by only hunting 10-year spirit beasts or easily killable 100-year spirit beasts, there should be no accidents. Although the information on spirit beasts in the Nuoding City Branch Spirit Hall is not particularly detailed, it is sufficient to help me identify various types of spirit beasts and assess their strength in the soul hunting forest. To hunt spirit beasts, one must first understand them, otherwise, you wouldn't even know how you died. And Su Wen currently has enough ability in this regard. Grandpa, get ready, we'll go hunt spirit beasts tomorrow. Old Jerry nodded repeatedly, smiling broadly. You're still young? You can't have accidents just to hunt spirit beasts for me. Over the years, he has heard of many spirit masters who died at the hands of spirit beasts in pursuit of spirit rings. Don't worry, Grandpa. 100-year spirit beasts might cause me some trouble, but killing spirit beasts under 100 years is easy, Su Wen reassured, patting his chest. The next day, Su Wen took old Jerry to the branch spirit hall and asked Su Yunteo to help him apply for a warrant. Xiao, are you sure it's okay to go alone? Su Yunteo couldn't help but express his concern. Don't worry, Brother Tao. I have completely mastered the information about spirit beasts in the library. If I encounter spirit beasts I can't defeat, I can still escape. I won't overestimate my abilities and challenge spirit beasts I can't beat. Well, just wander around the outskirts then. It might not be the most efficient, but at least it's safe. Okay, with a warrant in hand, Su Wen took old Jerry out of the spirit hall. Watching Su Wen and old Jerry's figures fade away, Su Yunteo couldn't help but sigh. Old Jerry is really lucky. Soul hunting forest. Su Wen and old Jerry walked in slowly. As they approached, a guard came forward and said, to enter the soul hunting forest, please present the warrant from the spirit hall. Su Wen took out the warrant and handed it over. Let's go, Grandpa. Old Jerry wasn't young anymore, and Su Wen wasn't careless either. Following Su Yunteo's advice, they slowly searched around the outskirts of the soul hunting forest. Grandpa, you might be getting a 100-year spirit ring, Su Wen whispered, observing everyone in the distant yellow figure. It was a yellow-skinned rat 3. Hi, I was finally able to create a Patreon page for those who wish to support me and read ahead of the current releases. So far there are up to 20 advanced chapters, and I plan to increase it once I accumulate more chapters. Here's the link and thank you to anyone who joins. I truly appreciate it. Patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 17, Set a Small Goal First. That was a lively mouse. Compared to ordinary mice, the size of the lively mouse was relatively large, and this one, with 2 complete patterns on its body signifying its age of 200 years, was almost as big as Su Wen. Two of course, when the lively mouse saw Su Wen and old Jerry, one child and one old man, it didn't have any thoughts of escaping. Clearly not considering them a threat. Gripping his paper staff tightly, Su Wen charged forward. This kid, transforming his martial spirit into tool, but there's no additional enhancement like tool martial spirits, old Jerry observed with some concern. However, he didn't need to worry for long. When Su Wen struck with his staff, although he didn't repel the lively mouse, he fought it on equal footing. So powerful, old Jerry widened his eyes. After becoming a spirit master, could one become this powerful just by wielding a weapon? As for the paper swords floating and rotating around Su Wen's body, old Jerry didn't pay attention to them. After all, in the recent collision, these paper swords didn't play a role yet. Soul power circulated within Su Wen's body. There were many meridians in the human body, but relying on his own talent, Su Wen didn't need to rely on soul power to explore the positions and pathways of the meridians bit by bit. He could efficiently explore the flow of soul power through each meridian, the speed and effectiveness of the flow through specific circuits. Apart from summarizing a complete cycle for internal strength, Su Wen also discovered some pathways for soul power circulation. Coupled with specific attacks, this could allow him to unleash more powerful forces. The strengthening of the body's intensity by soul power, erupting with greater force, this is the augmentation the soul power could grant. As soul power flows within the meridians and interacts with the body's movements, it enhances the force behind the spirit master's attacks, resulting in an additional layer of force. Coupled with Su Wen's own practiced staff techniques, almost every move he makes maximizes the coordination of his entire body's strength, unleashing the strongest force. With various factors combined, the force Su Wen erupts with is unmatched by ordinary spirit masters. Of course, the fundamental physical qualities of a spirit master are still crucial, and Su Wen has never overlooked this aspect, making it a focal point of his training. With an iron rod in hand, Su Wen's battle with the lively mouse grew increasingly intense. This kind of fight is exhilarating. Su Wen found himself quite enjoying this close-quarters combat. Unfortunately, his martial spirit was a book martial spirit, so he was destined not to continue down this path indefinitely. That would be irrational. The paper sword swirling around him continued to stab at the lively mouse during Su Wen's battle, leaving behind a series of wounds. In close combat, coupled with the damage from these paper swords, Su Wen clearly had the upper hand. Watching Su Wen battle the lively mouse while simultaneously controlling over a dozen small paper swords to attack, old Jerry was already dumbfounded. Wasn't Xiao's martial spirit a book martial spirit? Moreover, how is he able to control so many paper swords simultaneously? And, you're engaging in close combat with a 100-year spirit beast. Aren't you afraid of leaving yourself vulnerable to exploitation by the opponent in a moment of carelessness? The more Su Wen fought, the more excited he became. Such battles were truly exhilarating, making one's blood boil. My spiritual power is much higher than that of an ordinary spirit master. After ascending to the rank of spirit master, Su Wen's martial spirit developed new characteristics, and he confirmed that his martial spirit had innate talent in the spiritual aspect. As a transmigrator with powerful spiritual power and martial spirit bonuses, his spiritual power grew rapidly as his body developed. With the development of his body and the cultivation of soul power, a spirit master's spiritual power would also be enhanced to a certain extent. Su Wen's transmigrated self came with powerful spiritual power, and with the feedback from the development of his body and the cultivation of soul power, this already formidable spiritual power increased even more rapidly. Coupled with his deliberate training, constantly refining his control over a large number of paper swords for practice, the advancement of his spiritual power was very rapid. The lively mouse felt that the kid in front of him was too eerie. It wanted to run. Unfortunately, Su Wen's paper swords, shot from a distance, always managed to hinder its escape. Grandpa, you have to personally end its life to absorb the spirit ring. The lively mouse had been tormented by Su Wen until it was gasping for breath. It wanted to commit suicide, but Su Wen happened to be well aware of the lively mouse's suicidal tendencies and cut off that possibility with the paper swords. Old Jerry took the dagger from Su Wen's hand and thrust it into the lively mouse's exposed chest. A yellow spirit ring slowly rose. Grandpa, quickly absorb it, Su Wen reminded. Old Jerry took a deep breath, suppressing his excitement, and began to draw in the spirit ring as Su Wen instructed. My strength is already comparable to many spirit grandmasters, but it's still not enough. While remaining vigilant, Su Wen also reflected on himself. The tactic of paper swords becomes ineffective after reaching the Spirit King stage, only useful for my early battles. Even at the Spirit Elder stage, I should try to develop new tactics, spiritual power. This is another path Su Wen can think of to stay temporarily ahead of others. With enhancement in this aspect, he wouldn't have to worry about his own strength at the Spirit Grandmaster stage. As for the Spirit Elder stage, he could consider shifting towards the direction of demonic books. With his foundation, he wouldn't have to worry about lacking strength 6 no matter what. I must rapidly improve my strength. Soul power cultivation cannot be neglected, nor can my combat power, already 2 years younger than Tang San. Due to the gap in innate martial spirit, Su Wen wasted more than 2 years' time, lagging behind Tang San by a considerable margin in becoming a Spirit Master 3. However, relying on his intellect, relying on research into theory, and converting knowledge into power, Su Wen quickly closed this gap and reached level 20 simultaneously with Tang San. Tang Hao must be killed, and I must do it myself. My strength cannot be weaker than Tang San's, even if Tang Hao is covertly eliminated. After seeking revenge, Su Wen must have the ability to stand Tang San's retaliation. Therefore, he must not fall behind Tang San. Not only can I not fall behind, but I'm also already 2 years older than him. For now, Su Wen hasn't relied on actions or plans with Spirit Hall to hunt down Tang San. Firstly, disregarding his source of intelligence and feasibility, simply whether his goal can be achieved remains a question. BB Dong want to kill Tang Hao? Is Tang Hao truly at the end of his rope? In the original work, they managed to hold on until 70, 80, or even 90 years later. At this stage, Tang Hao definitely still possesses the potential to unleash formidable strength. Revealing this information to Spirit Hall would only lead to a stalemate. In other words, Tang Hao would be evading everywhere while Spirit Hall would be chasing after him. The tense situation on the continent could easily escalate with just a small spark. How can Su Wen continue to develop steadily if that happens? Stability is the key. The original storyline is Su Wen's greatest confidence. What if the original plot is altered, and Tang San goes to the ice and fire yin-yang well earlier than in the original, without the immortal grass? If Su Wen wants to change his destiny, he can only constantly consider his talents and strive for it at every moment. This approach is too time-consuming. Before obtaining the immortal grass, everything should follow the original storyline. Let's set a small goal first, in soul power cultivation, to close the 2-year gap, reaching level 20 while simultaneously being 2 years older than you. You want to read 20 chapters ahead? Check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 18, Expectations for the Second Spirit Ring. Can knowledge be transformed into a rapid increase in soul power cultivation without affecting the foundation of the Spirit Master? This transformation naturally exists, but it inevitably has its limits. But I have the talent of super perception. Isn't the evolution of the first spirit ring the best practice for my talent? As long as one utilizes their own conditions well, there's hope for everything. Years. Grandpa, since you absorbed the spirit ring, let's leave here first. Oh, okay. A figure of an old man and a young one quickly left the soul hunting forest. Grandpa, what is the effect of your first spirit skill? Su Wen was indeed quite curious about old Jerry's first spirit skill. After all, old Jerry is the first food spirit master Su Wen has truly encountered one. Let me sense it. Old Jerry sensed for a moment and said, my first spirit skill seems to be an energetic little sweet potato. Its effect is to rapidly restore the state of a spirit master and continuously increase the speed of recovery of the spirit master's state for a period of time. Oh, Su Wen looked at old Jerry, also somewhat surprised. This could be considered a top-notch spirit skill. Being able to quickly restore the state of a spirit master, although not focusing on any specific aspect, is still a very good all-around effect. It might be able to restore not only soul power and physical strength but even spiritual power. Even if it can't directly restore spiritual power, the buff that continuously accelerates the recovery of the spirit master state after use should also be able to stimulate the recovery of spiritual power. It can directly restore you in emergencies and also have follow-up buffs. Soon, thinking of the sweet potatoes he had eaten as a child, Su Wen felt that this seemed quite reasonable to achieve. This indicates that old Jerry has developed this aspect very well. Perhaps the development of a martial spirit is very. However, as long as there is enough time, one can always develop something. For example, old Jerry, he may not have purposefully developed it, but having possessed a martial spirit for decades, and occasionally having needs related to the martial spirit in daily life, naturally led to its development. After registering with old Jerry at the Spirit Hall, they returned to New Moon Village. Su Wen no longer ran around recklessly, but focused on cultivation. The energetic little sweet potato is not only properly named but also very effective. After trying old Jerry's first spirit skill, the energetic little sweet potato, Su Wen also incorporated it into his own cultivation plan. With the support of the little sweet potato, my recovery speed can basically be maintained at a very high level, and the efficiency of my daily cultivation will reach a new level. 3. Especially in the exploration and development of external strength and internal strength, the efficiency has practically doubled. In the blink of an eye, half a year has passed. Su Wen is now 11 years old. It's been half a year. With the support of the little sweet potato, my soul power cultivation has progressed much faster. I should have accumulated enough origin soul power for the 3rd rank. Su Wen can feel the accumulation of origin soul power, so a lack of visible progress does not affect his cultivation efficiency. On the contrary, with every bit of origin soul power accumulated, his motivation grows stronger. After all, only by accumulating more origin soul power can he obtain the 2nd spirit ring and undergo the 2nd evolution of his martial spirit. However, in half a year, although I've tried to accelerate my soul power cultivation speed in various ways, I've only managed to increase it by 30%. Even with uninterrupted support from the little sweet potato, it's only another 20% increase. The efficiency of cultivation has increased by half compared to half a year ago. However, Su Wen is still unsatisfied. I don't seek for my internal strength to be boundless and inexhaustible like the mysterious heaven skill. What I pursue is both speed and quality in cultivation. He already confirmed that a complete cultivation method that encompasses a full cycle has an extremely significant impact on the speed of soul power cultivation. Even if old Jerry barely grasped the method he taught him, by circulating soul power throughout his body to form a complete cycle, he managed to break through the bottleneck of the 10th level that has persisted for a long time, showing the importance of the cultivation method. With the perfection of both the external strength and internal strength at the same time, the efficiency has increased by 30%. In theory, the little sweet potato shouldn't have such a high effect, but it fits extremely well with Su Wen's cultivation method, making his efficiency in external strength cultivation higher, which in turn affects internal strength cultivation, thus affecting Su Wen's overall cultivation efficiency. In the end, I can only rely on simulated cultivation. Su Wen tried to cultivate it in the library of the Spirit Hall, and the effect was very noticeable. Although he doesn't know why a simulated environment has such an effect on soul power cultivation, Su Wen acknowledged its visualizing the library. Feel like I'm in the library, 3 books surround me. Unfortunately, Su Wen has not yet developed this method. In his opinion, the main reason for his lack of success so far is likely to be related to his weak spiritual power. If I could open the sea of consciousness, perhaps I could achieve real-time simulated cultivation through visualization. Su Wen is quite looking forward to his 2nd spirit ring. Grandpa, I have to go now. Xiao, when you're out there alone, you must be very careful. Don't easily trust others. Old Jerry was reluctant to part with him, but he knew that as a spirit master, venturing out was inevitable. All he could do was impart as much of his life experience as possible, hoping that Su Wen wouldn't be deceived while away. Don't worry, Grandpa. I remember everything you've told me. I'll also keep in touch with you regularly, and you can't cut off my supply of little sweet potatoes, you rascal. Always thinking about my sweet potatoes, old Jerry chuckled. Don't worry, my sweet potatoes have a long shelf life. I'll send you a batch every month without fail. 7. To support Su Wen's consumption, old Jerry would undoubtedly spend a considerable amount of time each day making little sweet potatoes. But for old Jerry, this was nothing much for his little kid. Leaving New Moon Village, Su Wen's mind was rapidly making plans. Blue Silver Emperor, Tang Hao had to take care of Yin and return to Holy Spirit Village. Therefore, the valley where Yin is located must be near Holy Spirit Village. If there's hope to find the Blue Silver Emperor, he will definitely take full advantage of the situation. As for having any psychological burden, Su Wen didn't feel any, for his own parents were killed by Tang Hao and the others. What's wrong with taking some interest by seizing a spirit bone? 6. Moreover, the Blue Silver Emperor is a plant-type spirit beast, which fits quite well with Su Wen's book Martial Spirit. What a pity. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 19, Surprise Finding. Nuoding City's backwardness is not without reason. It is truly remote here, surrounded by vast rivers and mountains. Finding a valley is not easy at all. With my current physical condition, most of these mountains are impossible to cross. These aren't like the mountains in my previous life with developed roads. Without paved roads, one wrong step, and Su Wen would either fall to his death or end up in the mouth of a spirit beast. This is also the true reason why Su Wen gave up his great idea. It's not that he doesn't want a spirit bone of an old spirit, but rather he doesn't have the ability to get it yet. If only my flying sword technique could be developed, then my steps wouldn't be blocked by just a few mountains. Unfortunately, flying with my own martial spirit is not feasible. It feels like you are stepping with your left foot on right. If I really want to fly, I still need external force. For example, using wings to flap and lift oneself with the assistance of air. But unfortunately, Su Wen has never truly succeeded in performing it. There is another way to obtain the ability to fly, and that is through soul power. After all, this is an extraordinary world. Besides scientifically harnessing the power of air for flight, one can also use soul power to achieve it. Su Wen is not clear about the principles of this aspect, but it doesn't prevent him from speculating that soul power can exert force on certain media in the external world through certain techniques, thereby lifting the spirit master with its power to fly. In any case, Su Wen cannot fly, neither through the development of the flying sword technique nor with paper wings. There is no way for now. Su Wen can only temporarily give up his plan to find the Blue-Silver Emperor. Temporarily. I am 2 years older than Tang San, and I graduated early from the Primary Spirit Master Academy. I still have 3 years before Tang San graduates and goes to Shrek. 3 years. Su Wen believed that within 3 years, he can at least become a spirit elder, and if everything goes smoothly, there is also hope to break through to become a spirit ancestor within 3 years. As long as Tang San goes to Shrek, Tang Hao will inevitably follow, and then there will also be hope to steal the Blue-Silver Emperor spirit bone. Let's focus on obtaining the second spirit ring first. Su Wen didn't continue to indulge in wild thoughts. He packed his bags, packed the small sweet potato that old Jerry had prepared for him, and headed towards the direction of the Starred Out Great Forest. 1 month later, Su Wen arrived at the Starred Out Great Forest. After staying overnight in a small town outside the forest to adjust, he entered the Starred Out Great Forest alone. He took out a small bottle of powder and sprayed it on himself. This powder could conceal his own aura, masking it as much as possible. Even if there were still faint traces of his aura, it wouldn't be a problem of the animal type. Although they are not well suited for absorption and fusion due to their mismatch with books at their core, I can attempt to accommodate them. The book's accommodation ability is immense. In the form of a book, recording the bloodline and abilities of spirit beasts might indeed be a perfect way to absorb animal-type spirit beast spirit rings. Of course, these are just conceptual possibilities. Everything still depends on practice. The Starred Out Great Forest is the largest gathering place of spirit beasts in the entire Douluo continent, as well as the convergence point of spiritual energy on the continent. It can be said that this place is the center of the entire continent. There are many spirit beasts, but they are not encountered just by taking a few steps. The density of 100-year spirit beasts is much higher here than in the soul hunting forest. Unfortunately, after searching for half a month on the outskirts, Su Wen still hasn't found a suitable target. Spiritual attribute spirit beasts are just too rare. Moreover, Su Wen has to be cautious in his actions, unable to conduct a thorough carpet search. The only thing worth celebrating is that the Starred Out Great Forest hasn't been too severely damaged yet. The variety of spirit beasts is incredibly rich, and even the spiritual attribute spirit beasts, which make up a small proportion, are still quite numerous. Su Wen has gathered relevant information from the Spirit Hall and knows that there are still many spirit beasts with prominent spiritual attributes in the Starred Out Great Forest. As expected, the heavens are still favoring me. With his gaze fixed on a distant figure, Su Wen tried his best not to make any noise. It's a translucent ape. Just from the name of the spirit beast, one can tell it has some spiritual attributes. However, Su Wen's happiness is not because it's a spiritual attribute spirit beast. Although the translucent ape has spiritual attributes, it's not particularly compatible with me after all. If I really can't find any other spiritual attribute targets, it wouldn't be bad to come back and target the translucent ape. Su Wen sprayed more medicinal powder on himself and quietly followed the translucent ape. He followed the ape all the way, constantly searching for opportunities around. 3 days later, He finally mapped out the translucent ape's cave. Ape-type spirit beasts are adept at brewing alcohol. They gather various spiritual herbs to make monkey wine. This translucent ape has higher intelligence. I wonder how effective the monkey wine it brews will be. Patiently waiting, when the translucent ape left, Su Wen quietly entered its cave. Tisk, there are too many benefits to joining the spirit hall. The medicinal powder that Su Wen used to conceal his aura came from the spirit hall. It's used by low-level spirit masters of the spirit hall and can better facilitate team hunting of spirit beasts. Other large organizations have strong leaders leading teams and don't have a high demand for such auxiliary tools, so they won't focus on researching and perfecting them. On the other hand, small organizations don't have the financial resources like the Spirit Hall, so the things they develop won't have the same effectiveness as those from the Spirit Hall. Venturing deeper into the cave, Su Wen saw many precious ores, but unfortunately, he didn't have a storage-type soul tool, so he couldn't take away these ores. At the deepest point, there was a small pool with a diameter of 1 meter, emitting a strong fragrance. Su Wen's gaze fell on the stone jars next to the pool. This should be the monkey wine brewed by the translucent ape. Although they were called jars, their shapes were strange, but it was easy to tell that they were containers for sealing. Su Wen opened one of the jars, and immediately, the scent of alcohol wafted out. He didn't feel dizzy but instead felt his mind becoming clear. His top grade. It definitely has the effect of enhancing spiritual power, Su Wen exclaimed excitedly. He closed the jar again. It's inconvenient without a storage-type soul tool, but it's not a big problem. After inspecting the area around the cave and finding no signs of the translucent ape returning, Su Wen sprinkled medicinal powder around him and chose the largest stone jar to carry away. Since there were no other spirit beasts around, Su Wen decided to move the stone jar. Su Wen found a cave far from the translucent ape's den. I won't bother looking for other spirit beasts for now. Let's drink first. Wine is really good. My spiritual power has increased by at least %. In the meantime, Su Wen went to steal 250 more jars, drinking a total of around 20 caddies. After refining the medicinal power within, he can now manipulate his spiritual power. Unfortunately, the effect isn't as obvious after drinking too much. Su Wen wasn't greedy. He adjusted his state and prepared to go out to continue searching for spirit beasts. 3 days later, one Fire Cloud Fox. Fire Cloud Fox possesses the spiritual attribute, but it's very weak, leaning more towards being proficient in the fire attribute. Su Wen shook his head and was about to retreat when he suddenly felt something was amiss. He carefully observed the footsteps of the Fire Cloud Fox. So instantly, if you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 20, Lucky Encounter. Observing the elusive footsteps, Su Wen had a guess. When the Fire Cloud Fox disappeared, he approached and sniffed carefully. The spiritual fluctuations of that Fire Cloud Fox are also abnormal. After being able to mobilize spiritual power, Su Wen seemed to gain an extra sense out of thin air, and the range of information he could perceive also increased. The spiritual fluctuations of this Fire Cloud Fox were somewhat chaotic. This was also the key to Su Wen's discovery of abnormalities. At the same time, having just mastered spiritual power, Su Wen was not very familiar with this kind of perception, so he did not notice it at the beginning. After sniffing the scent left by the Fire Cloud Fox, Su Wen also roughly confirmed his guess. There is another fox-type spirit beast around, and it is proficient in spiritual power. Most likely, it's also a vixen. Su Wen felt that since the Fire Cloud Fox was male, the other one should not be male either from the way it was walking, clearly having had a great time. Following the scent of the Fire Cloud Fox in the opposite direction, Su Wen quickly found a cave. Fortunately, not far away, Su Wen did not rush into the cave because he sensed a strong spiritual fluctuation. It has an enchanting nature. If it weren't for the reinforcement of his spiritual power by the monkey wine, plus the wise effect of his own book Martial Spirit, keeping his mind clear, Su Wen wouldn't even consider continuing now. Feeling the enchanting nature of spiritual power fluctuation at the entrance of the cave, he wondered if he should confront it head-on. No, first, find a way to confirm her species. Su Wen quietly left and returned to the transparent ape's cave, this time only stealing a caddy of monkey wine. With the monkey wine, he returned to the Fire Cloud Fox's cave. Fox, through its appearance, Su Wen quickly identified its species, feeling excited inside. This one is perfect. Moreover, As the phantom fox's alert gaze scanned the surroundings, Su Wen also saw it head-on. 3 eyes, three-eyed phantom fox. A mutated phantom fox. It has top-grade spiritual attribute at this moment. Su Wen couldn't help but marvel at his luck. First a monkey wine and now finding a mutated three-eyed phantom fox. Although its spiritual attribute is not good at spiritual impact and other methods, it excels in constructing illusions. 3 for Su Wen. This is simply the best auxiliary spirit ring to compensate for the limitations of the mimetic training ground. Moreover, this phantom fox mutated into 3 eyes. Maybe its spiritual power is stronger, and it has attack capabilities. Su Wen felt the spiritual fluctuations of this 3-eyed phantom fox, and he became somewhat puzzled. It's no longer an enchanting nature, but rather a feeling of entrancement. Soon, he figured it out. This 3-eyed phantom fox excelled in illusions, and its spiritual power fluctuations were adept at leading targets into entrancement, thus pulling them into illusions. It's just that previously it was playing around with the other fox, hence the enchanting nature. Tisk, it must have been quite playful. Her spiritual fluctuations are also very strong, probably capable of launching spiritual impacts. Hunting down this 3-eyed phantom fox might be a bit troublesome. Su Wen wasn't in a hurry. He bid his time and waited for the best opportunity. Anyway, I've reserved myself a full 3 months to hunt down spirit beasts. When he left New Moon Village, Su Wen had accumulated origin soul power for about half a year, which was roughly equivalent to level 3 soul power 1. These naturally were not enough. Adding on the month spent on the road and the month already spent in the forest, Su Wen's accumulated origin soul power increased by another level. This was partly due to his training speed and partly due to the effects of the monkey wine. Even though he didn't have the blessing of Little Sweet Potato for the following month, his training speed was not affected in the slightest. In fact, it became even faster. Besides the improvement in spiritual power and the cultivation of soul power, the effect of the monkey wine on Su Wen's physique growth was also very noticeable. With the assistance of his internal strength and external strength, after digesting everything, Su Wen felt absorbing a 1,000-year-old spirit ring would not be a problem. And the cultivation of this 3-eyed phantom fox was astonishingly just at the 1,000-year-old mark. So Su Wen couldn't help but marvel at his incredibly good luck. It must be said that Su Wen indeed had patience. After discovering the 3-eyed phantom fox, he lurked around for a full month. The fire cloud fox has left. Now is the weakest moment for this 3-eyed phantom fox. Quietly sneaking into the entrance of the cave, Su Wen took out a specially made aphrodisiac, using the separated martial spirit book page to send it deep into the cave. Previously, when the fire cloud fox was present, Su Wen had secretly administered this drug, which also resulted in the fire cloud fox limping away when it left with a satisfied look on its face. Of course, that wasn't the main point. The main point was that there were 2 other fox-type spirit beasts in front of the fire cloud fox. After 3 days of indulgence of happy time, this 3-eyed phantom fox must have been weakened to the extreme. That's also why Su Wen waited for a month. He waited for a long time, planned for a long time, just to make the phantom fox go into heat to such an extent for 3 consecutive days. Now, once again injecting a large dose of aphrodisiac, the 3-eyed phantom fox completely succumbed. Watching a 2-legged fox approaching, she closed her 3 eyes, unmoving, quietly waiting for the new fox to come closer for splat. But what greeted her was dagger entering her head. Tisk, a 1,000-year-old spirit beast is nothing special, Su Wen boasted, hands on hips. Indeed, for a 1,000-year-old spiritual attribute spirit beast to be killed by a spirit master like him who hadn't even obtained a second spirit ring was simply astonishing. As for why he had prepared such comprehensive means in advance, it was naturally because Su Wen had thought everything through. There's no way around it. The biggest difference between humans and spirit beasts is the use of tools. If my strength is inferior to yours, then I'll use tools. Su Wen wasn't a fool. It was already dangerous enough for him to hunt spirit beasts alone, so why would he insist on brute force and risk his life? I should hurry up and absorb the spirit ring, then leave the starred out great forest. It's been 3 months since I last contacted old Jerry. He's probably worried. A faint purple spirit ring emerged from the body of the 3-eyed phantom fox. Su Wen sat cross-legged, drawing the spirit ring onto himself. It was a familiar feeling, a familiar process. This time, Su Wen directly used soul power and origin soul power, causing the influx of soul power from the spirit ring in his body to merge into the martial spirit space, and quickly used it to fuel the evolution of the martial spirit caused by the essence of the spirit ring. Even so, the soul power from the spirit ring still made Su Wen feel like his meridians were about to burst. Indeed, the risk of absorbing a spirit ring above one's level is too great. One ordinary people really couldn't handle it. Su Wen had already tried to assess the difficulty of absorbing a 1,000-year-old spirit ring as high as possible, yet it was still so terrifying, indicating the level of difficulty involved. As time passed, the pain Su Wen needed to endure became smaller and smaller. Finally, he had extra energy to use this spirit ring absorption to attempt opening up his sea of consciousness. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 21, Love is Truly Great. Spirit masters with spiritual attributes, when their spiritual power reaches a certain level, can utilize spiritual power to unleash abilities that soul power cannot achieve. With the advancement of spiritual power, by chance, spirit masters can perceive and open the sea of consciousness, but it requires fortuitous circumstances. Perhaps there is a criterion: when spiritual power cultivation reaches a certain level, one can naturally sense the sea of consciousness and open it. However, before reaching this point, if the opportunity arises, there is hope of opening the sea of consciousness with external assistance. Su Wen, at this moment, seeks to use the opportunity of absorbing the second spirit ring to open his own sea of consciousness. Even with a spiritual attribute spirit ring, even if it's a ring beyond one's level, it is not necessarily able to open the sea of consciousness. However, Su Wen can actively attempt to open it. Where is the sea of consciousness? Su Wen doesn't know. However, when spiritual power cultivation reaches a certain level, one can perceive and open the sea of consciousness, indicating that spiritual power can sense it when it reaches a certain strength. However, Su Wen's spiritual power has not reached that level yet. But I can clearly sense the improvement of my spiritual power. The sea of consciousness is there, and spiritual power is within it. It's just that before opening the sea of consciousness, the spirit master can only mobilize the part of spiritual power that emanates from the sea of consciousness, the improvement of his own spiritual power. Su Wen is also undergoing a process similar to what he did before, using the origin soul power's cultivation and consumption to sense the martial spirit space. The martial spirit is the bridge between the soul and the physical body of the spirit master. During the martial spirit's evolution, the martial spirit space is closely connected to the physical body, allowing the soul power of the spirit ring to penetrate. Consciousness must be more closely connected than ever before as well. In theory, now is the easiest time to perceive the sea of consciousness. Time slowly passed. The phantom fox itself is already of a spiritual attribute spirit beast, and after the mutation, the three-eyed phantom fox's spiritual attribute became even more powerful, far surpassing the ordinary phantom fox by a lot. As the origin of the spirit ring merged into the origin of the martial spirit, resulting in the martial spirit's evolution, spiritual power continued to receive feedback and steadily increased. Finally, I sensed it. Su Wen sensed the presence of the sea of consciousness. He mobilized his spiritual power, impacting the existence of the sea of consciousness. Boom! As if opening up the heavens and the earth, a spatial domain emerged vast, akin to a huge lake. But the droplets formed by his spiritual power gathering are just a small part of it. Suddenly, the sea of consciousness began to tremble, as if a crack had appeared in the sky above it. Opening the sea of consciousness merely involves using one's will to enter it by manipulating spiritual power, rather than truly breaking it open. However, at this moment, it seemed like the sea of consciousness has been broken. No, that's not right. Su Wen carefully observed the crack and found it familiar. It's as if the third eye on the forehead of the three-eyed phantom fox. For at first, Su Wen was astonished. But then he was ecstatic. He realized what this was. An external spirit bone, 11 among the most precious treasures in the spirit master realm, besides the 100,000-year spirit rings, our spirit bones. Each absorption of a spirit bone allows for the acquisition of an additional spirit skill, which is a significant enhancement for any spirit master at any stage. Unlike spirit rings, the appearance rate of spirit bones is extremely low, less than 1 in 1,000. Of course, there are no restrictions on spirit bones. Even spirit masters who haven't personally killed a spirit beast can fully integrate them. Under normal circumstances, there are 6 types of spirit bones: left and right leg bones, left and right arm bones, as well as skull and torso bones. In special circumstances, spirit bones may appear in other parts of the body. These are known as external spirit bones, the rarest and most unique type of spirit bone. External spirit bones have the ability to grow. With the practice of the Spirit Master, given the opportunity, even a 10-year external spirit bone theoretically has the potential to grow into a 100,000-year spirit bone. Quite expected? The birth rate of spirit bones is very small, but in two situations, this rate is extremely high. One is when a spirit beast harbors extreme hatred, and the other is when a spirit beast passes away peacefully. Su Wen's situation seems to be the latter. Now it seems that I was ignorant. Love is truly great. 2.5 hours later, Su Wen opened his eyes, his gaze much sharper than before. His spiritual power spread out, allowing Su Wen to vaguely sense the general situation inside the cave. My spiritual power is still too little. If Su Wen could completely cover every corner of the cave with his spiritual power, he would naturally be able to perceive it clearly from all angles without any blind spots. But now, his spiritual power only roughly covers the cave, with a relatively low concentration. The resolution is insufficient. There should be special techniques for utilizing spiritual power, to stimulate its characteristics and make it more suitable for perception. If it could be developed, then it would be equivalent to a perception-type spirit skill with spiritual attributes. Unfortunately, Su Wen has not mastered such techniques. Now, try the external spirit bone. A crack appeared on Su Wen's forehead, and a splendid and dazzling vertical pupil blossomed there, emitting a brilliant light, exuding an enticing allure to a spiritual power circulated within the phantom eye. Without even needing to release it into the outside world, Su Wen felt his vision becoming incredibly clear. Not only did the world observed by the phantom eye become clearer, but his vision with both eyes also received a boost. Everything in the outside world became vividly apparent, and Su Wen could even see the dust particles in the air. He felt a stir in his heart, causing the phantom eye to fade away. However, at this moment, the phantom eye only disappeared from sight but did not vanish. He continued to try to circulate spiritual power within the phantom eye. Even without the vision of the phantom eye, the vision of both his eyes still received enhancement. Not bad. Under normal circumstances, my phantom eye wouldn't be exposed unless something unexpected happened, unlike regular spirit happened. Bones, the external spirit bone won't erupt once fully integrated. However, the prerequisite is complete integration, and Su Wen isn't sure if he has achieved that yet. Moreover, the most important point is, damn it, not every spirit master knows this. Bone 1. Moreover, the vast majority of spirit masters wouldn't even consider whether Su Wen has fully integrated this spirit bone, or if it could be extracted after killing him. Of course, even if they knew about this characteristic, some would probably take the risk. Human nature is like that. Other than the phantom eye, the biggest gain this time is the second spirit skill. Su Wen began to sense his second spirit skill, feeling quite satisfied. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Entering Heaven Dao City. First spirit skill, Enhancement. Second spirit skill, Control. Su Wen felt satisfied with the general situation of his second spirit ring's spirit skill. This kind of auxiliary spirit skill is the best. Spirit skills that have auxiliary effects on oneself, whether they are enhancement types or other categories. If utilized well, their potential is extremely high. Of course, if not utilized well, they can become quite useless. Su Wen did not try his spirit skills in this cave, preparing to leave the starred out Great Forest first. Su Wen returned to the small town outside the starred out Great Forest, thoroughly cleaned up, washing away the exhaustion of the past 3 months, and contemplated his next steps. The 1,000-year-old three-eyed phantom fox second spirit ring far exceeded my expectations. The extent of martial spirit evolution is no less than that brought by the first spirit ring. It can be said that with just 2 evolutions, Su Wen's martial spirit has made the leap from a low-grade martial spirit to a high-grade one. Although the innate soul power is at level 5, his book martial spirit still has extremely poor quality and didn't seem to benefit from it. However, the Starlight Fruit Tree of the first spirit ring brought about the first evolution for his martial spirit, completely transforming it and making it leap in quality. reaching the level of an intermediate martial spirit. This time, the second spirit ring not only strengthened the characteristics derived from his book martial spirit during the last evolution, but also further evolved his spiritual attributes, simultaneously absorbing the spiritual power surging due to the opening of the sea of consciousness and absorbing the external spirit bone. In the process of absorbing the spirit ring, it triggered a chain reaction, causing his martial spirit to undergo another significant evolution. Compared to high-grade martial spirits, it is not inferior in the slightest. After absorbing the third spirit ring and then refining the immortal grass, my martial spirit will become an absolute top-tier martial spirit, Su Wen eagerly anticipated that day. At that moment, perhaps his book martial spirit will truly qualify to be called a heavenly book. 15. The cross-level absorption of the 1,000-year-old second ring brought unimaginable benefits. But at the same time, it also brought some trouble for Su Wen. Firstly, he is pondering whether to continue receiving his spirit master subsidies in the future. The 1,000-year-old second ring has a great impact on the current Douluo continent. Even though he is considered a member of the Spirit Hall, Su Wen dared not be certain that no one would take the risk to come after him. Whether forcefully inviting him to join another force or threatening him with his life to reveal the secret of cross-level spirit ring absorption, these are possible scenarios. This is a world of survival of the fittest. Killing for your benefit is quite normal. But what Su Wen fears the most is not death, rather someone thinking that his martial spirit is special and then trying to crossbreed it. Especially as Su Wen undergoes martial spirit evolution time and time again in the future, this possibility will become increasingly likely. I need a backing, a real backing, not a fake and empty backing like the current spirit. The best option for a backing would actually be Douluo. The poison Doulou 5. Su Wen decided to head to Heaven Dao City and find a way to join the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy. 1. He wrote a letter to old Jerry, letting him know he was safe and asking him not to provide little sweet potatoes for the time being. He mentioned that he would write to old Jerry again when he needed, by which time he should have settled down in Heaven Dao City. After sending the letter, Su Wen rented a small courtyard in the town. The monkey wine must not be wasted. Although the effectiveness of monkey wine diminishes with increased consumption, it still has explosive effects. The wine contains rich nutrients and energy, and with careful refinement, it can still accelerate the improvement of soul power and spiritual power. Unfortunately, without a storage-type soul tool, Su Wen did not take all the monkey wine with him. However, knowing its location, he expressed that he could make several trips to transport more. 5 days later, Su Wen transported all the stock of the transparent monkey back to the town and began a new round of closed-door cultivation. At the same time, he also sent about 20 caddies of monkey wine to old Jerry in New Moon Village. Perhaps with the assistance of monkey wine, old Jerry might break through to Spirit Grandmaster or even Spirit Elder in his lifetime, which was the least he could do for the old man that took care of him. Aside from the monkey wine sent to old Jerry, Su Wen still had over 50 caddies left. After absorbing the second spirit ring, Su Wen's soul power directly reached level 22. With a daily intake of 1 caddy of monkey wine, along with internal and external cultivation, 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. In 2 months, I've reached level 23. Su Wen completely digested the monkey wine, and his soul power also broke through by 1 level, reaching level 23. He still did not go to the Spirit Hall to collect his Spirit Master subsidies. 1. It's time to head to Heaven Dao City. Su Wen held a map in his hand, departed from the town, and headed towards Heaven Dao City. 1 month later. Heaven Dao City. Saint Spirit Hall. Su Wen slowly entered the Saint Spirit Hall with a disheartened look on his face. He was very helpless. Even with his talent as a backup, he couldn't get into the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy. It's true that one needs noble status to enter, and enrollment teachers have stated they wouldn't even consider him. Without seeing the 3 major boards of education members or the higher-ups of the academy, no matter how talented he is, no one would give him a chance. In the original story, Shrek Academy could get in, probably because of Qin Ming's recommendation and the advance approval of the 3 boards of education members. Of course, Su Wen also had a cautious mindset. He worried that if he exposed the 1,000-year-old second ring, he wouldn't be able to convey his information to the boards of education. Instead, he might draw the attention of enrollment teachers or the forces behind them prematurely. It can only be said that Su Wen's paranoia is a bit heavy. But in such a world, such symptoms are not entirely a bad thing. So he decided to go with a different plan to get into the academy. Upon entering the Saint Spirit Hall, Su Wen declared his identity. Su Wen? A member of the Nuoding City's branch Spirit Hall? How did you end up in Heaven Dao City? Oh. Obtained a spirit ring, then came straight to Heaven Dao City. Impressive, little guy. You're not even 12 yet, and you're already a spirit grandmaster. Alright, let's test your soul power and have you release your martial spirit, then register your basic information. Su Wen took a deep breath and released his martial spirit. Under a dazzling halo, a book with purple patterns appeared in front of Su Wen. The most eye-catching part was that touch of purple in the spirit ring. The deacon in charge of registration, upon seeing the purple spirit ring, instantly thought Su Wen was undergoing spirit elder certification. But the next moment, he remembered that Su Wen was undergoing spirit grandmaster certification, and moreover, his soul power test just now was at level 23. He carefully counted Su Wen's spirit rings. 1 yellow, 1 purple. Even though the purple of the second spirit ring wasn't bright, just a faint halo of purple, it was still a 1,000-year-old spirit ring. This deacon realized the situation was not simple. Looking at Su Wen's subtle smile, the deacon collected himself, refrained from asking for further details, and chose to report it. He couldn't handle such a registration task that was way beyond his salary. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 23, Plan B Unfolding. Salas, one of the 4 Platinum Archbishops of Spirit Hall, and also the Hall Master of the Saint Spirit Hall in Heaven Dao City. Today, he was dealing with internal affairs in the hall when he received an urgent report from a deacon. Normally, a deacon with the strength of a spirit grandmaster or spirit elder cannot directly contact this Platinum Archbishop. However, in all matters, there are priorities. In the face of urgent matters, even ordinary Spirit Hall members have the opportunity to contact the Platinum Archbishop. 1,000 years old second ring, Salas' gaze burst with sharpness. Investigate all the records of Su Wen's past. After issuing the task to investigate Su Wen's past experiences, he also arrived at the registration room where Su Wen was located. Su Wen watched the deacon leave, and then Salas entered. Sensing the unique aura of the other party, he speculated in his heart. "Show me your martial spirit and spirit rings," Salas said. Su Wen didn't hesitate and directly released his martial spirit. 2 spirit rings, 1 yellow and 1 purple, rose from under his feet, pulsating rhythmically around him. Salas saw that the second spirit ring was indeed purple, indicating 1,000 years of age. He then observed Su Wen's martial spirit, his gaze flickering. Book martial spirit and it can absorb a second spirit ring with 1,000 years of age, Salas noted. Su Wen, right? I am Platinum Archbishop Salas. Your situation is quite special. Can you describe the process of absorbing the 1,000-year-old spirit ring? Of course, Spirit Hall will reward you accordingly. Salas looked at Su Wen, inquiring about the details of Su Wen obtaining the spirit ring. Su Wen didn't find it strange. He came here to report anyway, which was within his plans. I was alone in the starred out Great Forest. Upon hearing that Su Wen hunted down a 1,000-years-old spirit ring alone, Salas's gaze became peculiar. He looked at the small boy before him, who was only 11 years old and couldn't fathom how he ventured into the starred out Great Forest alone to hunt spirit beasts. Moreover, he actually managed to hunt down a 1,000-years-old spirit beast. It was simply unbelievable. This kid's martial spirit was even a book and not attack-oriented. However, as Su Wen narrated the process that contained 9 truths and 1 lie, Salas gradually understood why Su Wen could hunt down a spirit beast this old. Are you saying that you consumed monkey wine brewed by the transparent ape, significantly enhance your physical qualities, and then coincidentally killed a phantom fox? Unwilling to give up, you attempted absorption and succeeded. Salas marveled at Su Wen's audacity. No, Hall Master, I wasn't entirely impulsive in choosing to absorb it. Based on my understanding, the various qualities of different spirit masters are completely different, and their ability to withstand the absorption of spirit rings also varies. Using a fixed value as the limit for spirit ring age is somewhat biased, Su Wen explained. However, even auxiliary spirit masters can absorb spirit rings very close to this maximum limit value. So, I found it hard to believe that the upper limit of the spirit ring age that one can endure is only related to the spirit master level. Different spirit masters evidently have different physical qualities, yet they can endure similar spirit ring ages. So, I speculated that a certain quality closely related to soul power cultivation level determines the ability to withstand the absorption of spirit rings. Su Wen presented a well-founded argument, intending to report an incomplete set of theories on spirit ring absorption. Such a theoretical achievement, he could at least gain recognition from Spirit Hall. After all, it's better to teach someone to fish than to give them a fish. 3. Use the incomplete theory of absorbing the 1,000-year-old second ring to weaken Spirit Hall's attention to his second ring. At the same time, this theory is enough to secure sufficient benefits for Su Wen. For example, with Salus's support and the attention of the Spirit Hall's higher-ups. At this point, proposing the idea of joining the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy for further studies, as long as the reasons are reasonable, should not be hindered. Which is his intention from the start. A certain quality closely related to soul power cultivation level. Salus stared at Su Wen. He knew Su Wen had an answer. Yes, Hall Master, when cultivating soul power, it follows a specific circulation path in the body, which I refer to as meridians. 1. Meridians. Yes, meridians are the routes that soul power follows when circulating in the body. As soul power improves, the meridians are also strengthened under the nourishment of soul power. Unless specifically targeted for enhancement, meridian strength is quite similar among spirit masters of the same level. Meridians that are nourished by soul power are crucial in withstanding the pressure of absorbing a spirit ring. When facing the pressure of a higher level spirit ring, if the meridians are resilient, they can withstand it. Once the meridians are insufficient to support, Su Wen fabricated a complete process for presenting his theory from start to finish, something he had known since he came from another world. With a solid and reasoned argument, coupled with successful cases, Salus took Su Wen's theory very seriously. So, you're suggesting that by specifically enhancing the meridian strength of a spirit master, there's a chance to achieve absorption of higher-level spirit rings? That's correct. However, for caution's sake, it's advisable to enhance as much as possible. I didn't rely solely on monkey wine. Even during previous cultivation, I didn't neglect physical training. Even if it was just the most superficial physical conditioning, it still contributed to strengthening the meridians. Salus nodded. At this moment, a deacon knocked on the door. Come in. Handing over the information to Salus, the deacon hastily left. Examining the information about Su Wen in his hands, Salus connected everything Su Wen had just explained. Su Wen, you have great potential for researching, he praised. Now it can be confirmed that Su Wen's theory is very sound, and he personally completed the verification process using his own body. In the future, Spirit Hall can focus on these aspects when cultivating talented spirit masters, allowing them to absorb spirit rings beyond their level. Even if they cannot absorb across tires, just advancing from 700 to 900 years can bring about significantly different effects. Below 700 years and above 500 years, the difference in spirit ring effects is not substantial, and spirit masters won't be too concerned. However, once they absorb beyond their level, especially above 700 years, every 100 years significantly boosts the enhancement effect of the spirit ring on the martial spirit. There have long been theories within Spirit Hall emphasizing the benefits of absorbing spirit rings beyond one's level. Now, with Su Wen's theory added, it further refined the theory of the benefits of absorbing spirit rings beyond one's level. I will report your theory to the Supreme Pontiff, Salus said with joy because he knew this would be a significant achievement for him. As Salus looked more favorably upon Su Wen for bringing this achievement, he found himself increasingly pleased. Even if Su Wen were cunning and using this to create a better standing for himself, Salus was not truly narrow-minded, especially when dealing with subordinates. He wouldn't be overly stingy. Moreover, Su Wen had delivered this achievement from a distance, all the way from the Star Dao Great Forest. After obtaining the Spirit Ring, it took a full 3 months for Su Wen to arrive at the Saint Spirit Hall in Heaven Dao City to reveal the second ring of 1,000 years old. Salus was certain that Su Wen intended to gain his support through this achievement, and he didn't mind. Thank you, Master Hall, Su Wen expressed joy and bowed in gratitude. Well, for now, stay at the Saint Spirit Hall and await the Supreme Pontiff's further instructions. I'll grant you access to the library room in Saint Spirit Hall, Salus said. Su Wen hesitated, a detail Salus noticed. What's wrong? Do you have other thoughts? Reporting to Hall Master, I would like to enroll in the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy for further cultivation. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 24, The Position of Theoretical Scholars. Entering Heaven Dao Imperial Academy, Salus frowned, staring at Su Wen with a flicker in his eyes. Knowing many truths, he could analyze the benefits of Su Wen going to Douluo Imperial Academy from a global perspective. However, Su Wen shouldn't be aware of them. Why did he want to go Douluo Imperial Academy then? Why go to Douluo Imperial Academy? The training in my spirit hall won't be inferior to theirs. Other advanced spirit master academies might be acceptable, but Douluo Imperial Academy was a nest of nobles. To put it bluntly, it was a spoiled place, and the performance in the Spirit Master Tournament has always been lackluster. Of course, the academies where noble children were enrolled did have the best facilities, but the rewards in terms of resources wouldn't be much because many nobles brought their own resources. In summary, given Su Wen's current situation, it doesn't make sense for him to enter Douluo Imperial Academy without any clear reasons. Hall Master, the highest-ranked book-type martial spirit practitioner on the continent, Xiao Zhan, is teaching at Douluo Imperial Academy. Su Wen had long prepared the answer. Fire Demon Xiao Zhan. Sal's brow loosened and then tightened again. Are you still intent on pursuing the path of a combat spirit master? Yes, Su Wen did not hesitate, stated firmly. In this world, strength is ultimately revered, and power is fundamental. Strength is the essence of everything. Without strength, no matter how much theory one grasps, it's just empty talk. No one will take you seriously. Well said. Salas showed a hint of admiration, but it quickly disappeared. He then stared at Su Wen once again and asked, "Are you really sure? Do you know how great is your innate talent in theoretical research?" The 11-year-old boy proposed the Meridian Theory, suggested the idea of absorbing spirit rings beyond one's level, and personally conducted verification. In terms of confidence and ideas, he is both well-suited for the theoretical path. "Do you know the Grandmaster?" Salas asked. Su Wen nodded. At that time, he had even attempted to become Grandmaster's disciple while at the primary Spirit Master Academy, only to be rejected. Well, don't let him influence you. Salas chose his words carefully. Grandmaster has a decent reputation among ordinary Spirit Masters, but Spirit Masters of Spirit Ancestor level and above generally look down on him. Salas thought that Su Wen might be influenced by Grandmaster's current situation, thinking that those who focus on theory would be looked down upon. The status of theoretical scholars is not low in the eyes of high-level spirit masters. The Grandmaster's success is more of a fluke. The top 10 core competencies of martial spirits publicly announced are mostly borrowed from others, lacking genuine knowledge synthesized independently. The theories put forth also fail to address the challenges in the development of spirit masters. One high-level spirit masters don't need those things of his because those who can cultivate to spirit king and above, even if they explore cultivation on their own and add 3 to 5 friends' views, can basically summarize this set of principles. Grandmaster's theories are of no use to them. Naturally, no one will admire him. On the other hand, those who are truly engaged in theoretical work and can benefit high-level spirit masters in some aspects are always respected. Just like your theory of absorbing spirit rings beyond your level. Even if high-level spirit masters themselves can't use it, your theory can prepare future generations. Su Wen blinked, feeling a bit amused. He could sense that Salas seemed to have a low opinion of Grandmaster. It was quite evident that he was being critical. Listening to Salas complain about Grandmaster, Su Wen felt strangely satisfied. 3 Hall Master, rest assured. Everything I have now comes from my understanding of knowledge. Knowledge is power, and in my pursuit of strength, I will undoubtedly focus on researching theories and then transforming those theories into power. Su Wen quickly clarified that he wouldn't waste his innate talent for theoretical research in his pursuit of strength. I aim for strength, but my path to achieving strength involves on my research talent. Upon hearing this, Salas's expression indeed softened considerably. To be honest, Su Wen's theory of absorbing spirit rings beyond one's level would be beneficial for the majority of powerhouses within Spirit Hall, especially those who are Spirit Saint level and above. After all, who doesn't have descendants? And who wouldn't want their descendants to possess extraordinary talents? Providing the best spirit ring combinations for their children is already the most they can do, but as the time limit approaches, it becomes increasingly challenging to widen the gap in the optimal spirit ring combinations. Some parents who dote on their children may even feel that the environment they provide for their second generation is not good enough. Now, with the emergence of the direction of absorbing spirit rings beyond one's level, there will undoubtedly be a group of powerful individuals with abundant resources willing to invest them in their own children. Even if it doesn't reach the level of a 1,000-year-old second ring, at least a 900-year-old second ring can certainly be secured. Salas is pleased with Su Wen's proposal to enter Heaven Dao Imperial Academy after knowing his reasons. This means that Su Wen will transition under his leadership, becoming his direct line. Now, with Su Wen's commitment to not abandoning theoretical research, Salas is genuinely satisfied. As for whether Su Wen can truly stay in Heaven Dao City, obtain the Supreme Pontiff's approval, and join Heaven Dao Imperial Academy, Salas, who knows many backstage dealings, confidently says, no problem. Heaven Dao Imperial Academy is under the influence of the Crown Prince, so having Su Wen join and then having the Crown Prince influence him will undoubtedly be a significant boost for the Crown Prince. This is almost a foregone conclusion. The fortunate lad, I wonder if he'll be astonished when he learns these truths. Salas thought. I will truthfully report your application to the Supreme Pontiff. The specific arrangements will depend on the decision of the Sacred Temple, Salas stated. Thank you, Hall Master, Su Wen expressed his gratitude. Fire Demon Xiaozan has indeed achieved the highest level in the cultivation of book martial spirits in the combat category. In fact, he is also a member of my Saint Spirit Hall in Heaven Dao City and has close ties with Bai Yuan, a scholar of Saint Spirit Hall specializing in book martial spirits. Bai Yuan is also a theoretical scholar, using his book martial spirit for utility purposes to assist in his theoretical research. I will introduce you to him later, Salas explained. Thank you, Hall Master, Su Wen replied. As he promised, Salas introduced Su Wen to Bai Yuan and the senior deacon in the library, leaving them to exchange ideas. He then began arranging the Saint Spirit Hall's tasks and preparing to personally go to Spirit City to report Su Wen's situation. This kid is not just about absorbing spirit rings beyond his level. Recalling his observation of Su Wen's martial spirit, Salas was very certain. I suspect that the spirit rings his martial spirit absorbed are also exceptionally compatible with it. This point is beyond doubt. Those who specialize in theoretical research are adept at pairing martial spirits with spirit rings. If there's anything peculiar, it would be Su Wen's cultivation speed and the coincidence of he getting stuck at a certain level for a significant period twice, as indicated in his records when he needed to acquire spirit rings. Let's see what the Sacred Temple decides. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. Chapter 25, Spirit Saint Xiaozan. In the Sacred Temple, the theory Su Wen came up with is as follows. In just 2 days, Salas had tirelessly rushed to Spirit City and was now reporting information about Su Wen in the Sacred Temple. The theory of absorbing spirit rings beyond one's level, Bidong, dressed in Supreme Pontiff attire, exuded a powerful aura, inexplicably giving off a sense of oppression. Why didn't you bring Su Wen with you? She asked. Salas felt a tightness in his heart and replied, Su Wen intends to join the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy, and I wanted to report the information as soon as possible, so I didn't bring him along. Can Spirit Hall not provide him with the best growth environment? Chrysanthemum Douluo snorted coldly, his voice sharp. HMPH, Salas, you think we cannot see through your little thoughts? Regardless of the reason, keeping Su Wen in Heaven Dao City means having him under his command. In the future, if Su Wen has any theories, he will share the credit. Salas hurriedly knelt down, begging for forgiveness. Supreme Pontiff, please calm your anger. Su Wen has a book martial spirit, and he wishes to pursue the path of a combat spirit master with his book martial spirit. The highest achiever with a book martial spirit, Fire Demon Xiaozan, is currently teaching at the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy. Su Wen's purpose in joining the academy is also for him. Moreover, Heaven Dao Imperial Academy is originally affiliated with the Crown Prince, a powerful burst of soul power emanated from Bidong, instantly suppressing Salas, making him hesitate to continue. For Salas, are you making decisions for me? I dare not. Sweat began to bead on Salas's forehead, and he felt a deep sense of nervousness within. The hall fell silent for a while. This time you have found Su Wen, and that's a merit. There is no doubt about the benefits of Su Wen's theories for our Spirit Hall. Since he has a talent for theoretical research and claims to be skilled at transforming knowledge into power, let him join the Heaven Dao Imperial Academy. After some hesitation, Bidong continued, no need to rush for him to contact the Crown Prince of Heaven Dao. Yes, Salas breathed a sigh of relief, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead and acknowledging. As for the other peculiarities of his book martial spirit, don't pay too much attention. It should be the latent part after the martial spirit mutated and is gradually manifesting with his cultivation. Bidong concluded on other issues related to Su Wen. Both Salas and Chrysanthemum Douluo and the Ghost Douluo found no issue with this statement. Indeed, Su Wen's book Martial Spirit was initially registered as an ordinary one, but in terms of cultivation speed and other aspects, it far surpassed the level exhibited by ordinary martial spirits. Moreover, Su Wen's innate soul power is indeed at the 5th level, undoubtedly indicating a mutated book Martial Spirit, with a mutation direction being somewhat latent. The Supreme Pontiff's understanding of martial spirits is so profound, Salas thought. 3. As for the coincidences causing delays in Su Wen's time before obtaining spirit rings twice, Salas no longer intended to bring it up. After all, the records themselves have reasons. The first spirit ring required was 100 years old and Su Wen needed assistance to hunt it, so it was delayed for a year. The second spirit ring required was of spiritual attribute and needed preparation. Hence the delay of half a year. In reality, the time delayed on both occasions did not go to waste for Su Wen. He successfully achieved his goals. Su Wen stayed in Heavendao City's Saint Spirit Hall for 5 days, and Salas returned from Spirit City. Hall Master, Bai Yuan respectfully spoke. Salas nodded, inquiring about Su Wen's recent activities over the past few days. He has been studying the information within the Saint Spirit Hall, and by now, he has basically finished reading it, Bai Yuan reported. Oh, Salas was surprised. Even though each branch spirit hall in various border cities had libraries, and they were relatively comprehensive, the disparity compared to the Saint Spirit Hall was enormous. To finish reading the materials of the Saint Spirit Hall in 5 days? Bai Yuan smiled. He held a high opinion of Su Wen, his junior with the book Martial Spirit. Especially during their exchanges, he was impressed by Su Wen's unique insights into martial spirits cultivation. Hall Master, this Su Wen's book Martial Spirit seems to have undergone some mutation, providing a tremendous boost in learning capacity. Bai Yuan emphasized the word tremendous. This enhancement is more apparent, more abnormal, than any book Martial Spirit Bai Yuan has ever seen. After a moment of contemplation, Salas began to address the main matter. Bai Yuan, your relationship with Xiao Zhan from the Heavendao Imperial Academy is good. Su Wen wishes to join the academy, so I'll have you handle the relevant procedures for him. The so-called requirement of noble status doesn't necessarily require Su Wen to become a noble himself, it can also be achieved through connections. Having the ability to navigate relationships with the academy's internal teachers itself signifies a certain status. Understood. Bai Yuan had already learned about this during his communication with Su Wen. Now that Salas entrusted him with the task, he was willing to accept it. As spirit masters with the book Martial Spirit, he and Xiao Zhan had a good relationship, one focused on theory, the other on combat. Xiao Zhan's growth, step by step, also benefited from Bai Yuan's advice on spirit ring combinations. You should be aware of Su Wen's theory of surpassing levels in absorbing spirit rings, right? Bai Yuan was surprised and, observing Salas's expression, wondered if there was something wrong with this theory that Salas might be aware of. Su Wen told me about it personally. For now, keep it confidential. It's the directive from the sacred temple. Yes, Hall Master, rest assured, I will keep it under wraps. Su Wen, Bai Yuan will help you arrange the procedures for joining the Heavendao Imperial Academy. Yes, thank you, Hall Master. Su Wen breathed a sigh of relief. The plan was proceeding smoothly. Salas and the Supreme Pontiff thought they stumbled upon an opportunity to put themselves in Jinring Su's service by chance. However, Su Wen was well aware of this, so he chose this path deliberately. However, given Bibi Dong's unpredictable nature, Su Wen couldn't be sure if his plan would succeed. Hearing Salas's instructions now, he felt relieved. Alright, the next step is to make contact with Doulou Bo through Doulou Yan. Uncle Bai, thank you, haha, no trouble at all. You want to pursue old Bai? Is this the Su Wen you mentioned? That's right. Bai Yuan looked at Su Wen. Xiao, this is Xiao Zhan, who became a powerful attack-type battle spirit master with a book Martial Spirit and holds the title of Fire Demon. Haha, just call me Uncle Zhan. Uncle Zhan. It was evident that Xiao Zhan had a straightforward and extremely enthusiastic nature, and he was genuinely curious about Su Wen. An 11-year-old spirit grandmaster. Haha, I never dared to imagine this. The speed at which our book Martial Spirit masters are cultivating is astonishing. Xiao Zhan patted Su Wen's shoulder, expressing admiration on his face. I'll take care of your enrollment at the Heavendao Imperial Academy. As a Heavendao level teacher, I have the authority, and your talent is more than sufficient. Xiao Zhan's expression turned serious as he advised Su Wen. Xiao, you were introduced by old Bai, and your talent is extraordinary. I have high hopes for you. Don't be arrogant, work hard in your cultivation after joining the academy, Uncle Zan. Rest assured, I will practice diligently. Good. Xiao Zan nodded and asked, you've already absorbed 2 spirit rings. What spirit skills did you acquire, and how effective are they? For the book Martial Spirit to follow the path of a combat spirit master, each spirit ring is crucial. If it's suitable, only then will he consider taking Su Wen under his wing. The previous agreement was simply to assist Su Wen in enrollment. Xiao Zan has a deep understanding of the challenges involved in pursuing the path of a combat spirit master with a book Martial Spirit. If the first 2 spirit rings are not matched well, he would rather advise Su Wen to reconsider this path. If you want to read 20 chapters ahead, check out patreon.com/JohanLT. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.